So yeah,
Okay.
come in order. Meeting's open.
All right, you are recording.
Yeah. First thing we're gonna do, if you guys may have just noticed us having a little chat up there, we can't do the Cricket Lane thing tonight. We don't have quorum. One of the members is out, and Mary's recused. So that leaves us with 3 because these guys are brand new tonight. And in a normal situation, they could have been brought up to speed, but they weren't sworn in when the item was opened. And so we can't backtrack that because they weren't legally sworn in at that point. And so even though we've got 6 people sitting here, we don't have quorum on the topic. And so it's just gonna pass through. So that was kind of a surprise to us, so sorry for making everybody show up. But
Thank you. We can still leave, right?
you can leave, yeah. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. We just are as surprised as you are.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Sorry to make you drive over.
So you will put us on the agenda for August 3rd?
Yes.
No, the 28th?
3 weeks. Ready?
Whatever, the next one.
The next one?
Yeah.
August 3rd.
August 3rd? Really? We're not doing another one this one?
Sorry, gentlemen.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's,
Sorry about that.
yeah. Yeah, so,
So you can't, so, because they've already opened the hearing and had some discussion on it, that way.
Yeah.
So they're kind of contentious.
yeah. And in a normal situation, we would just
You
tell
would
these
have
guys,
just reviewed the tape or something.
yeah, give them the information, bring them up to speed. No big deal, it's done all the time. But the swearing in of the project and the swearing in of the people are off. We can't, there's enough of an air gap, so we can't do it.
Until you get up to speed or they start the hearing process.
Right.
again.
So half the stuff on the agenda tonight, they can't be here, they can't contribute to.
If it's new, they can.
If it's new.
If we can. Okay, got it.
Yeah, anything continued there, just spectating essentially.
Yep.
So, finer points of agendas and more. Anyway, so what is the new next thing for first?
Nice to see everybody in person.
Oh, everybody left. Sorry. Anyway, the first thing we've got on here, we've got Kathy Goodwin from 182 High Road, an NOI to replace an existing sanitary disposal system.
Good evening.
Hi.
For the record, my name is Bob Grasso from Engineering Land Services.
You guys know if you have a DEP number yet?
Yes, I do. Just give me a second. We'll just get squared away here.
Can you repeat your name for me, please?
Bob Grasso, Grasso. Thank you. Is the legal advertisement. And it is the DEP number of 050-1362 with no comments.
This is the 182 High Road file. You just stick one here.
Can I just move this?
Yeah, whatever. You're not even on. So.
Okay. Oh.
This is announcement 0501362.
Sorry, we don't have an agent or a.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
I need it.
kind of a little gap there. This is a notice of intent for an existing failed septic system. It's located at 182 High Road. The existing dwelling is a 3-bedroom shown in, I don't,
That's fine.
I'm sorry about that. Shown in brown right here. It's serviced by town water off the High Road right here. We had the wetland delineation by Norris Environmental in A1 through an A6 area, which just continues off the property. They have a paved driveway, 2 paved driveways. Actually, this is the one that you typically use. This is probably for a visitor or something like that because it's such a highly traveled road. The existing system is right here in orange, and the tank is approximately right here. What we're going to do is cut the pipe off, put a new 2,000 gallon combo tank, 1,500 gallon with a 500 gallon pump chamber, pump it to a D-box and do a Presby system, which is 62 by 21 and a half feet wide. The reason why we're doing that is you get a 40% reduction in size compared to a conventional type of stone for less impact on the lot. This is shown as 10 scale, so this just figured this would be like half the scale. Because it's such a small lot, that's why we had to pull it up in the detail. It will be an elevated system with a stone block retaining wall showing the heavy line right here with a 40 mil polyline encasing the whole septic system, because we're asking for variances from the environmental code and the local code from 20 feet down to 17 feet. We're also asking for a variance to the wetlands from 50 feet to 20 feet. It's practically, the slope actually comes, it's high here and it really drops off, and then it levels out to like a lawn area right in here. This is all lawn area, which is flagged as wetlands. They mow it right up to the property line, which is a tree line right up here. We filed with the Board of Health their meeting was last week. I got the approval from the Board of Health. It's been approved by the Board of Health. So we're just waiting for the conservation approval. As I said previously, the blue line is the wetland line. This first yellow line is the 50-foot wetland setback, and the second line is the 100-foot wetland buffer, BBW buffer. So the majority work is from 50 feet, and the tank's outside the 50 feet. There's not really much room on the lot. It's a small lot, so we're doing the best we can. But prior to construction, and it's showing in red here, proposing a silt sock, which will be the limit of work in the grading of the retaining wall right here. The land right here will be up about 3.5 feet, and then that will go back down to 3 to 1. That's the last grade right there. The existing grade roughly through the middle of the septic system is roughly at elevation 28, and we'll be at 30.4, so it's like 2.5 feet on the higher end, but then it gets at RFC on the lower end. That's why we need to retain wall.
Okay. Let's go this way. Help me out, because I'm gonna forget you like 3 times. Terrible. All right, so Frank, you wanna go? We'll go around the horn this way, or do you wanna wait to the end and see what the rest says?
I'll wait to see whatever.
Fair enough.
I don't know what else.
It's a septic system repair. We're doing, it's better than what's out there right now. We're actually elevating the system out of the groundwater, which is in the groundwater right now. So we're actually making things maximum feasible compliance to Title V. And the Board of Health has approved all the variances that we requested, such as the tank setback, the wetlands, septic system to the wetlands, the septic area leach to the solid wall.
Grading is minimal, so.
Grading is minimal.
I don't know what else you can do.
We couldn't even perfect. We had to send it out to Penn State University for soil analysis. It was so wet. And it came back as a class. Soil, that's why it's a big class 4 soil. That's like the worst soil you can get.
Make reps,
So in other words, today we probably would never rebuilt the house. It's a repair.
Alright, you got anything?
I was gonna try and do something about the silt socks.
I am a huge fan of silt socks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 12-inch diameter silt sock.
Compost all the way. Compost, rip that thing open, no hay bales, no plastic.
Yeah, and they'll just run a knife down and just like, oh.
Oh yeah, so much simpler.
Just make sure you're cool with silt sock. Otherwise, yeah, I was just gonna ask about the Board of Health stuff, but you answered that. So,
It's been approved last week.
yep, all right, I have no other questions.
Almost it.
Okay, you wanna try? You good? Alright, yeah, it's just, you're stuck. Alright, so you got a DP number you said?
Yes. Might get
0501362.
So then,
no comments.
yeah, basically, I mean, other than silt stuff, it's just construction and access and, you know, the way, so, we don't have an agent, so that might be a problem. But in terms of writing this up, Do we want any conditions about anything like the construction access in the back or limited work stuff, or just as is, good enough?
Coming down that driveway?
Yes, and the silt sock layout's actually labeled as limited work.
Yeah.
So they're not, whatever they put up.
So they're not gonna be driving through here, coming over
No,
the
that's,
limit, they're
no,
gonna drive
they're
it, yeah.
coming right through here, cause there's some trees here, there's no way they could get around that side, so they're coming straight down.
Alright,
Seems very straightforward.
yeah, boilerplate?
Yeah, I mean, just given the summer we have, the only thing I would be worried about is just keeping an eye on it. And the sun stock with all the high rain events around.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Have you seen it this week?
No, I have not.
Yeah. Because you got a bunch of clay, don't you? So even though that's,
Yeah.
the wetland might be here, but the puddle might be over there.
Well,
Yeah. Well, whatever, obviously if it's a puddle, you're not gonna do anything,
yeah,
so.
they're not gonna bring equipment in there, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I just think it's a matter of like, if you're in the middle of getting it, I know it's not gonna be a long project.
No.
You're gonna get it
It's
done.
probably a 4 or 5 day project, maybe 6 because of the retaining wall, the block wall.
Yeah.
That's not gonna really hold you up, constructing that.
Just with the grade on the site coming down from high road.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have a big rain event, maybe doubling up on that silt sock or doing something to keep the runoff
Absolutely.
out of the wetland.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the kind of thing like, if the contractor's got common sense, you'll be fine.
Have they chosen a contractor yet?
No, they have not, they're out to bid with the licensed installers and you have to have a license match time.
Alright, anybody wanna make a fuss about an order of conditions that actually speaks to the weather, or are we just gonna?
No.
Good, then, who wants to make a motion?
Open it to the public.
Oh, yeah, I'm rushing again. Anybody for this one? Going once, going twice, nope, thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
Alright,
Second.
alright, roll call. Mary, let's start with you, come
I'm
clockwise.
fine, standard conditions, approved, yep.
Aye.
You know, we don't even have to do this, we can do like show of hands, we're in person again.
Correct.
Alright, so, eyes, alright, great.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
and nice to see everybody in person again.
See you again.
Thank you.
Pretty funny, like, acting like we're remote and I have to do one at a time.
Just
Yeah.
getting
Oh man. Alright, next thing up, we have Andrew Boger, 16 Old Point Road, an RDA for removal of an existing rotting deck and disposal replaced with new deck.
Yes.
Alright,
Oh, I am.
I mean, I'm a little rusty.
Me too. All right. How's everybody doing?
Oh, actually, before you start, hold that thought. We should pass around the signature.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
They were brought there.
We can do that again.
Yep.
Yeah, put the DP in the corner. Alright, so we can do that on this side, right? We can multitask. Alright, we can do that?
Yeah.
You mess it up?
Whatever.
Bitch.
I never had to fill up.
All right, guys, as mentioned, we should probably go back to having mailing certificates or whatever we got for that now.
We did. We got it.
Yeah,
Collecting
but
like
the way we do that,
Tear sheet.
I mean, that's gonna be the kind of thing that we have to work out with Martha about whether we pick them up in the meeting, if they drop them off ahead and just sort of like the notification to us.
I don't think we can open a hearing until we have
All the
that
notifications.
proof that it's the meeting.
Yeah.
The hearing is notified, whatever you say.
Well, when,
But we kind of just avoided that
Yeah.
with Zoom, but I think it's something.
well, this is an RDA, both of these so far, and this is.
no, the other one, the first one was an NOI.
Okay, this is an NOI, okay, this is an RDA,
Yes.
so it doesn't matter for this one,
Right,
okay.
anyway,
Should be newspaper.
we got the newspaper,
Yeah, you
you
did.
the last one.
Yeah, we did. We got these for the last one.
Right.
And this one.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So usually the applicant hands that over and it goes in the file, right?
Usually, or pre-pandemically. I don't know,
You
can you
can-
use that word anymore, usually?
Yeah, I think you can still hold the hearing, it just, you have to hold the order of conditions until you get that.
throw it in the pile? Is that one yours?
You can have it, I can get another one.
There you go. Is that we have the draft, we have the actual. Not quite a tear sheet, but whatever. It's alright.
Working out the kinks.
What else we gotta do?
Yeah,
I mean, everybody else went home, right?
Yeah, this is great. I
Um,
have the place to myself.
just about, right? So, anyway, floor is yours.
Alright, this is my first go of it, so you can all coach me and along the way. So my request for determination is just this, there's a rotting deck on the front of the existing house. We're gonna replace it. The new design has been engineered with John Conley, a structural engineer. We decided to, instead of cantilever the existing deck the way that it was built by 2x6s a long time ago. So we're going to, in fact, knee brace it down to the house in 4 spots along the way and not interrupt the ground with any type of diamond pier footing or unapproved footing. This is their parking in front of their house, so we thought it would be the best idea to tear this whole deck off, replace it. This is the proposed expansion of the size of the deck. It's 5.5 feet right now. We're just gonna expand it to the 7 feet, giving someone to actually walk by. It's very tight right here. Old Point Road is in front of us, and also adding to the back of the house, in line with the existing deck. I also had a little bit of trouble figuring out the percentage of lot and things on there and square footage. We did come up with a formula. I passed it by Peter Bennett, and he seemed to think that I did the right thing. And we came up with just under 400 square feet of availability of expansion. We're only doing about 198 in this proposal. So we're,
How close is the front of the new proposed deck to Old Point Road?
I think it's at the 20-foot mark.
Okay.
and this is a second story deck.
Yes.
So
It is second story
it's
deck.
gonna remain to.
That's this. Mhm.
And there's no pilings going in for the front or the back, right?
Correct. It's gonna be,
Cantilevered, yeah?
well, actually knee braced. This is cantilevered.
I
And
mean,
with no,
knee braced, yeah.
right, so it's gonna be knee braced.
So it's
Yeah.
second story in the back as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
It's an upside down house, right?
it is.
Okay.
Going through the process, it's a request for determination whether I needed the Conservation Commission to be involved or weigh in on what was here, structural engineering plans, and just looking for this determination. Okay.
Okay.
We can proceed.
Great. Let's start on the other end. You wanna go first this time?
I'm all set.
Okay.
I'm good.
Just raise the usual dumpster,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know, any disturbed stuff in the back in particular. It's all driveway or landscaped in the front.
Crushed gravel is in the front.
What about out back?
And dumpster would be able to be parked right on the crushed
Dumpster
gravel.
in the front.
Yep, in the front driveway. Along the back, his property line, so there's nothing to disturb here. We're not going over there at all. We'll be passing through this way. There is, it is basically sand, behind his house. So, we would just need this 3 or 4 feet. There is not even, it's been, painted and re-roofed, in the process of where we are now. And so whatever foot traffic or very minor thing that was back there is, it looks like sand. And I could actually.
I'm familiar with it.
You are,
I
okay.
live right down the street.
Oh, great, okay. So there's nothing, no heavy vegetation, no,
It's just saying.
it's just sand.
Yeah, I mean, I think the standard Plum Island condition says something about any vegetation that's disturbed needs to be replanted, something like that.
If we
This
can, if we
abuts
can
the-
do pre and post photos or something like that, maybe that, if
Yeah.
there's any vegetation disturbed, then it'll show up in the post construction photos, and then we can,
Yeah, and we should probably, if we do this as the RDA, throwing in a pre-construction site meeting type thing. You know, if and when we have an agent to fill that, just to eyeball the grass and be like, oh, that one, and that one.
but yeah, I think we can do the photos at that point for the file, okay.
Anyway,
So what does that mean for me?
functionally, it just means that before you get started, somebody from the town, either one of us, or if we have somebody hired by then, that person will just go out, look at the back of the house, make sure we didn't miss anything.
I live 2/10 of a mile down the road from there.
Yeah, so
I can
he
look
just
at it-
volunteered,
I
he's
can
gonna
look-
come
I
out.
can look at it on land.
Great.
But yeah, just make sure there's nothing that we missed, but you know, on
Yeah.
paper, it's pretty boring.
Just take a bunch of photographs.
I will,
Of
yeah.
what's there,
Yeah.
so.
I actually- I may have some.
Okay.
Right,
I'm good.
okay. So then, the only question I've got left is,
There's the back of the house. So you can see it in the daylight. I just got some out.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Very familiar.
More than do grass.
Thank you.
yeah, it's pretty boring.
Thank you again.
Yes, sir.
We like
Nothing
more.
interesting,
We
don't-
like it, that's the good for us.
Look more like lawn or something.
Yeah.
I was looking at the aerials and it didn't look like sand, so I was curious to know what it really was.
So you said you ran the math by Pete?
I did,
Okay,
yeah. And that
You're
was based-
you're less than half of what you're allowed to do.
Correct. At this point. So, we submitted this and then not to delay or cause any other things, but if the homeowner said, oh, wow, that's great, we certainly don't have the frontage, right? We can't go forward with a bigger, larger deck. Understood, 20-foot setback. If there was possibility to get anything else across the back where people could actually sit or put a table, to occupy the percentage that is allowable, is that something that would need to be redone?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
resubmitted and go through the request of determination again, or
Be a separate request.
we're gonna stay with this?
Yeah, it's a wise idea.
Do we know what flood zone
I just had to
this is?
ask, because I don't.
yeah, I was just looking, the special flood hazard zone is delineated on map of community, that is zone AE.
AD 13.
Alright,
Okay.
so. Alright, nobody else? Anybody wanna throw a motion on the
Anybody
table?
here?
Public? My thing I'm terrible at?
Team Embrace Dreamwork.
The only thing maybe we wanna throw in, if he's got, space, you know, do you wanna sort of give him an RDA with another square foot or two?
Can't do that.
I do.
Oh, alright,
Okay. So
Fair
I'll make a
enough.
motion to approve the plans as presented.
Second,
alright, hands up. Great,
So you get a negative determination, which means you don't have to go to the next step and file a notice of intent.
And negative
So
three.
negative in this case is good. You know,
Right.
So we
Yeah,
can
okay.
apply that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
and then, at some point, somebody will send you your paperwork, and if you get bored waiting, harass somebody.
see you.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
and then I'll harass somebody for you, I
And it's an RDA, so he's got a 10-day appeal period, right?
think so.
And so you'll have 10, once you get the paperwork from the town saying you have permission, there's a 10-day appeal period where somebody from the public or DEP or something like that can file an appeal. You can start work, but it's at your own risk during that 10
Well,
period.
it's definitely something that's not stable and can't stay. So
I'm just telling you,
yeah,
that's the standard
The front
boilerplate
deck
we
has
say.
to come down.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
oh, Maze is still standing there.
all right, well, thank you for your time.
Problem. Good evening.
Thanks for bringing something easy.
You too. Thanks.
Alright, look at this. Easy after easy, we never do this. Alright, next up, we've got William Stack, 65 Northern Boulevard, an RDA to replace an existing deck, keeping the same footprint with plastic deck and rail system with 2 steps to ground. Hey,
Okay, I submitted all the paperwork and the pictures, so you should have all the pictures and everything, so I didn't bring anything on it, because I wasn't sure, because the lady said that when I went down there, that this was good. Okay, so you should have all the,
Yeah, we're good.
all the pictures and
It appeared in the newspaper as well, right?
We have a
I
folder.
don't know that answer. But the thing was, is that, but I brought, the lady, she was new. After I want.
He's got it. You've got the file.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's got the pictures.
I had the pictures, I had the one thing I've not seen is the newspaper so far, so let's see what we got.
okay, well,
Okay, so I'm
yeah,
gonna.
tell us.
All right, so there's an existing deck that there is now. It's 2 levels. So this is the owner of the property, so I brought it with me just in case if there's any questions that he needs to answer, he can answer. So I am the contractor. I am going to bring the deck, rip off the old deck, add 4 feet out, it'll be 12 by 22, which it's 22 now, and put 3 manufactured footings in, and that's what we're here for, is the 3, to put the 3 manufactured, they make them pre-made, and just put them in the ground. We're putting a new deck with plastic, changing the configuration of it so that if you look at the pictures, he has his front door going out here, then he drops down 2 steps and the deck goes down. So that it's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the pictures I said.
Well,
This is what we got. Yeah.
Stick really well at the table.
Well, I went to Staples to get a good picture of it. Okay, so Pete came out. We had a conversation with Pete. I'm sorry, I don't know the lady's name.
Kara? Yeah, that's,
She came out too, and she said, okay, and she told me what to do, and so I did what she asked me to do, and she said these will be, good for seeing it. So basically, I'm putting 3 manufactured footings.
Do you have any further description of what those footings are?
If you drive around it, they're basically it has a Bigfoot on it. They actually call them Bigfoot, and what it is it just they have a form that they make that instead of putting a sonotube in, all you do is you lift them up with a backhoe and put them in.
So you're gonna dig a hole for these first?
Yes,
And
yes,
then put some crushed stone on the bottom and then drop these in?
I can do that. Yes.
I'm asking, I'm
Yeah,
not telling, I'm
yeah.
asking.
The thing is that the bottom footing is a large, it looks like this.
I'm very familiar with it.
Okay, so and what it does is it has a bolt at the top, which is like I'm gonna guess, okay, like maybe 7/8 or 3/8 or something like it's somewhere in there. So when you put your clamp on for your 6x6, you can bolt it right to it, and then you just run your 6x6. Then we're gonna cantilever to all 3 of them with the cantilever, and then just lay our decking over.
So that footing is up against the house, I'm not sure.
No.
That's out below.
This will be out 10 feet from the house.
So
It'll
do
cantilever
they have
2 feet.
Aren't there some requirements for footings, in condo? Does that meet that? I mean, that looks like spread footing. I thought we had to just do single piles.
I mean, diamond pier would be.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to disturb anything, dig any holes, have any equipment or anything.
Yeah.
Diamond Pier, you wind up driving.
No, spikes, I know what I know what you're talking about.
Just less
The reason why I wasn't doing that was because there's a certain load that those will take, and if there was ever something put on the top like a roof, then that destroys the calculation of that pressure on that thing. This will take the load, and then if there was ever a roof put on it or something like that, it will maintain that. It's stronger than the ones that you're talking about. Because what you do is the form that you're talking about looks like this. And there's post. And you take the post and you drive them into the ground like.
Yeah, I think that what Dan and Mary were pointing to is that you're coming here asking to do a deck, and in almost every decking that we've approved out here recently, it's used the diamond
Yeah,
piers.
diamond piers are like, I mean, what other brand names, what other techniques have we heard about? It's diamond piers and sonotubes are the only two things that get thrown around really.
Some kind of helical pile.
No,
that's the
you
same
could do a helical pile. or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that Bigfoot is not uncommon. It's not
It's just more than is necessary for a deck, and so if you're proposing that this is gonna be a structure, an enclosed structure at some point, that's a different thing, and we might consider a notice of intent for that. So
Okay,
it's,
well,
you know, it
Yeah, I
just
think
seems like
that's
there's a
what I
lot
was trying to
more impact associated with excavation for that type of footing than the one we normally approve.
Okay, because usually, the only reason this is actually the first time that I'm using this is because it's already manufactured. I'm not really destroying anything. I'm not taking a 12-inch sonotube, coming in with a cement truck and, putting a big
You
foot on
still
it.
need to excavate to put that in.
I
right?
do.
That's
I'm not
That's,
just-
that's the point
That's
that
where our trigger
the,
is,
the
yeah.
commission is bringing
Yeah.
up, is trying to disturb as little as possible.
For
It's
very
sand.
Yeah. The
It's-
basic, yeah,
It's sand.
right. But more or less, one of the triggers for going from the easy paperwork to the hard paperwork is digging.
Well,
Basically.
excavation with heavy machinery.
Well, yeah, not gardening.
Well, not hand digging for
Yeah.
these kind of piles.
Yeah.
That we're talking about.
Right.
Which you can,
Right, no, I'm oversimplifying deeply.
Okay,
panel shovel.
so if I'm understanding what you're saying to me, is that I can put saunas in there if I hand dig them?
That comes into the oversimplifying detail.
All right, so you really want me to go this route?
That would be something that if you go that route, it's easy. And we're like, great, have fun, no big deal. If you go some of these other routes, then we have to think harder about it and look a little closer, more or less.
Let's go this way.
Okay? No, that's why you're here. That's why you're here, okay?
Yes,
door number
one. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Easy door.
So, okay, so I know what they're talking about. It's a funny looking thing, and they drive
Okay.
posted.
Yep.
The weight,
I'll just have to keep my mother-in-law off of it.
oh Jesus.
Oh.
That's
She's gonna see you on
That's
TV.
not right.
As long as she doesn't live in town.
Yeah.
Kidding.
That's-
She lives in Groveland.
No, she doesn't, I just saw her.
Alright, so,
Alright, so then,
So-
the usual sort of set of,
Alright.
Bad,
conditions we need to put up, right? For
bad.
the,
so what you're also gonna
Opera
do,
dumpster?
and what you're gonna do is,
I'm not gonna use a dumpster, I'm just gonna go to Mellows, the deck, I'm just gonna
Oh,
tell
alright, just load it
You know what I mean? I just go to Mellows. It just, cause I need the room. Put my setup, my saw and stuff like that. And we're gonna use plastic decking or composite and then the same stuff that he has on the roof. I don't know if you can see the roof. Can you see the roof of the picture? No.
I have a deck on the front.
Yeah, just using the same railing system. It's a plastic, a vinyl with, spindles. And since it's only 2 steps, which is not even 29 inches, so we got 2 steps. If the rises are gonna be 7, it's 14 inches off the ground. I don't even need to put a rail on it. But the thing is, so it will be at 3 feet.
Right, but for getting rid of the old deck, You're just throwing it in the back of the pickup and driving it away.
Yeah, the old.
Is that, yeah, the deck's, I'm just gonna put it in my truck, yes,
Alright,
and just bring it down there.
cool.
What are the dimensions of the existing?
8 feet by 22,
So you're going to 12 by 22, right?
that's correct.
And
Is the lot coverage okay on that one? Is
Okay, so you should have this too.
Yeah, is that
You should
building,
have-
is that building lot coverage or us?
that, that's one of those things that's
Building.
building, but we always end up checking anyway. Like, they're checking us and we're checking them, and it's not jurisdictional for us. Like, if it's a problem, we can't sign off on it. But we do often just say, hey, do you know, have we run this math yet?
It is, under the bylaw, but,
Well, right, under the bylaw, everything that happens on Plum Island,
well,
basically.
no, there's a lot of coverage requirement for the bylaw.
But that's,
So
that falls
it is under our,
Right, but it's one
under
of those,
under Concom or building? I thought it was under building.
wasn't there lot coverage in the bylaw?
I think so.
yeah,
But I'm easily confused.
yeah, but it's one of those things
I
like,
thought I read that it's in building.
It's both.
yeah, I mean, it's one of these weird things about the Plum Island aspect of the bylaw.
The other thing is just to throw this out there as a total monkey wrench. I mean, they're expanding the structure of it. I don't have a huge problem with that.
4
If-
feet.
But it's very close to the surface of the dune, and in other cases, we're elevating structures to allow sand migration underneath. If the structure was at the same elevation as, as you come out the door, and then you just had steps, then you wouldn't have to lay it right down along the sand, and you have, I don't know what kind of foundation this house has, so it may be irrelevant, but
Yeah.
if it's a solid foundation, then it doesn't really matter.
What is the foundation? I can't tell on the same picture.
It's
Water.
cinder block.
Yeah, sit up, like,
And then you're not, the sand's really not moving anywhere.
Yeah, right.
the let,
No,
obviously I'm gonna attach the ledge.
What he's gonna do is just make
Okay,
this
so here's,
landing off the door,
here's what you're
Just gonna
talking
make
about right now.
instead of going down
Okay.
the stairs,
If you
it's
look
all
right
gonna be
here,
this level.
see, he just, when he
It's
comes
top
out his
level.
door,
Oh, it'll be higher.
Yeah.
this is just like a deck,
Okay, I thought it was at the same.
just so that they can, walk around, and then it's 2-step. Then we're just gonna bring it up here. This, cause it's two,
Okay.
see the 2 steps down to this one? Cause this one is dropped down in the back, and this one is put up to the side door. This is where they park their vehicles. You can see it over there.
So it's actually gonna be high.
It's gonna actually be high, but it'll be about 18 inches off grade.
Cross off pre-made Bigfoot and right in Diamond Pier. They are an initial for us.
Do that.
Yes, we can.
That's the love.
So just,
Your
Diamond,
memory is much better than
Yeah.
mine.
right in Diamond Pier and initial that, date it.
And we can put it in the determination too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we just want the plans to
Diamond
be.
here, that's it.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, it's initial date.
And the height of the deck is as high as possible relative to the first.
Because of the sand. I heard that. But the thing is, because his mother's, handicapped, where we're gonna,
Take
I'm
them
gonna
all
make
in.
the staircase larger. And then his wife just wants one rail on one side.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it's only like, in the front, it's only like 14 inches.
Yeah, and it's not like you
With
just
the
step on
wood.
anything.
It's another 8, so it would
Yeah.
be 20.
I'm good.
I'm also good. We asked if anybody's here for this.
No, we haven't checked in. Anybody here for this one? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, okay.
That last piece of paper.
I make
Great
a
job.
motion to approve a negative determination, are we ready for that? Approve a negative determination, applicability, -3, with the condition that the, structure be supported on Diamond Piers.
We want to second that one?
Second.
Beautiful. Hands in the air for an aye. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
And
so,
you heard the thing about the 10-day appeal?
Yep.
Okay.
okay, so when is the?
I have no idea.
We don't have any,
We don't-
we have no staff right now. We don't have a conservation agent and we don't have an inspection. Well, I guess we kind of have, and do you think Gretchen will get that done?
But we're signing the signatures
They're
now.
all signed, I think.
It should be easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
should be.
10 days from now?
no, 10 days from when you get the forms from us,
10 business days.
10 business days.
That's
So
when we
you
can
wanna
start.
go to Concom, you wanna go
At,
to the
on the date
office
that you receive.
multiple times until you get that.
We are hoping it's not a pain. We just don't know. We can't speak to, you know,
This
what
is
goes
all
on.
new, like.
But this is the hard
How to
part.
tell them what you do?
This is the hard part, getting the
How to
signatures
tell them
up.
what you do?
I mean, wait until we sign it, then tell
You
us.
know, he sends me pictures like this.
Come on, Rick. Let's go,
I'm
Rick.
not kidding, I can show you, I can prove what I just said.
You-
Okay, I'm plugged in here, cause you heard him.
It's a meme of someone walking.
Yeah.
Come on, Rick. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
What-
Good
what-
night.
So, when's the first time I should go down there? 7 days, 4 days, 5 days?
Give
It's a
them,
week.
give them a call on Friday. Give them a
Okay.
call on lunchtime Friday.
Oh, you're right. You're not here Friday. You're not here Friday. Don't listen to this. Next Tuesday or Wednesday. Next Tuesday or Wednesday. Give it a week.
Is there
Thank
a
you.
general
Thanks again.
idea of how these things are gonna get drafted?
No. The general idea.
Not one that's been communicated to us, I think, is a fair.
Yes, I think we're reading this and we're making it up as we go, so like, if we actually, like, the order of conditions, we might end up writing on our own for some of these. Like, that if we do special orders, we might take the boilerplate that's in the Dropbox, you know, maybe I'll write it up or Mary writes it up with the special conditions, and then they sort of
We didn't
finish
just
the formalities.
But
But we're winging this.
Mary probably didn't know
If
you
you have an
walked in.
idea, we're gonna do it.
I did know, I got an email about
Oh, you did?
congratulations following, because I was reappointed.
Oh, okay,
But I
yes,
got
that's
a
what it is. I didn't know.
notification that
Yeah.
other, that you two were reappointed as well, or appointed.
Yeah, so we didn't even get that, just somebody told you,
Oh, yeah.
like what, like 48 hours
On
ago?
Thursday,
Yeah.
Kara was like, hey, you've got 2 new commissioners, and I was like,
So when
really?
was her last day?
Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, we were just winging it. All right, okay, so we have Cricket Lane LLC, 55 Pearson Drive,
60,
DEP 050-1355. Let's do a formal continuance. It's
I'll move to continue this hearing until August 3rd at 7 p.m.
brilliant.
Second?
Thank you. Hands in the air for an aye. Beautiful. All right. Kaufman Shea Builders, 7
Hold
Larkin
on, hold
Road.
Slow down a minute.
Hey, let him take notes, let him take notes.
I had people that took notes, I don't take notes.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, you're doing the hardest thing of your night.
Absolutely.
Where did the full signatures come back to me?
I'm just underneath there.
Are you doing
And that was
only
only
here, or you wanna do them all together?
Four
Put 'em in
to
with
0,
the-
because we're all Frank and I could not vote.
Right now, you're just here for the amusement, just for the fun.
Let me finish.
Which one's this? We did this one. What's this one? 182 High Road. We did this
No,
one.
so we did that one, we're on seven. Lark, there's a typo on the agenda, it should be Larkin, not Larking.
Oh, good, because I didn't know where that road was.
Me either.
Which one are we doing now?
7 Larkin Road, Larkin Road. I'm just reading off the sheet.
That's all I ever do. I continue to AMRAD. Do we have a number for this thing?
I believe
Yeah.
so, I don't have.
Yes,
Is this
it's,
continued? We never.
050-1360.
the last hearing.
It's
Oh,
1360.
yeah, we did this one.
050, they all start with 050.
I recognize it. Yeah, that's the island in the middle. That's what just triggered me. And the funny.
Was there a site walk, or is it gonna be a site walk?
I think we tried to do a sidewalk, but I didn't go.
I don't think, I never.
Did we
even
try to
saw it.
schedule one?
No, there
We
was
never
never
heard,
one
that's why I
scheduled.
wasn't sure to even come tonight.
It
Oh.
wasn't scheduled, it never got scheduled. So
Wasn't it something that you were gonna go out and
I
walk
was
it?
gonna try to work it out with, is it Mark West?
Yes.
Who flagged it?
Yep.
Okay. So
Oh,
between
that's fine,
schedules and rain and everything, it just never, it didn't happen. between-
Okay, fair enough. So
But I
generally
was-
speaking, do we have anything to talk about?
Well, we haven't had a chance to review the wetland boundary, which unfortunately is why you're here tonight to confirm the wetland boundary. But I was confused about the ANRAD and what is being requested because there is a lot of wetlands shown on the plan, but then the descriptions just says you're looking for a determination about whether or not an area can be isolated land subject to flooding. So are you looking for approval for all the wetlands shown in that plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and because I read the same thing on the agenda, and I was like, wait a second.
Somehow,
that doesn't look right.
got a little confused there. What actually the project was. So it's just a typical ANRAD with all of the wetland boundaries.
And maybe a special paying attention to the isolated land?
Well, I think because it may be an area that is an isolated land subject to flooding. But some additional information may be needed, to document that. All we received that I saw was a letter from Millennium saying they didn't think it flooded to a depth of more than, so in order to fill you guys in, for isolated land subject to flooding, that's a wetland area that doesn't border on another wetland or another waterway or water body. It's completely isolated hydrologically, but in order to be protected, it needs to have a minimum flood storage volume of 1/4 acre foot to an average depth of 6 inches. This plan doesn't have any topography, and there isn't any way of determining that based on the review of the plan. All we've received from Millennium is just a statement saying they don't think it floods to a depth of 6 inches.
Well, this would be a good time to go out and take pictures.
I was gonna say, I don't know if they want us to go out there and take pictures.
Yeah. So we
Take my
would
clip.
need more information, either a volumetric calculation of the basin.
Yeah.
Or hydrologic calculations of the large area contributing to it.
Yeah,
There's 2 different ways of doing it, you probably know.
yeah, I can send just like the blow up areas that I have with the topo in there. There were a couple little pockets that got to 6 inches, but they were a few hundred square feet.
Okay.
And ultimately these, like, they'll have little pockets and it kind of just drains through, and same thing here. There's a couple pockets that ultimately just keep draining that way. So it really doesn't have like a defined berm to it that really keeps it in, but I can send you a blow up of those.
So yeah, so probably the easiest thing is, if, the schedule, I can schedule the time, and any of you want to go.
Yeah, I'm always interested in this kind of
With
thing.
the wetland consultant, walk the boundary, if there are any changes to the flag boundary, then they'll need to survey those as well, and then if they have to go back, this crew has to go back to locate any changes, they can maybe get some more shots in that ILSF and make a determination of whether, what the actual elevations are. Because I don't think we can make a determination based on this compiled.
No, and last time, I think I remember, we said you schedule it to your convenience and then let us know, and we'll try to come along. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, and then, do you know the math that you did, or the pictures of the visit or whatever, do you know when that was from? Like last fall?
From the map, for these areas here, no, that was just right before we submitted this, I did it.
Okay.
So we do have topo for the whole site, it's just there's so many flags, it would be impossible to follow.
Fair enough.
I can turn it on and send it to you guys and just give you a clean sheet with this. And
I don't know if we need it for the whole site, it just maybe for those areas that isolated area. Are there 2 or just 1?
There's 2.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of right adjacent to each other.
Right, and so the smaller one, I mean, if you give the square footage of the 2 areas, then we can figure out how deep it would have to be to hold a 1/4 acre foot, and if the smaller one needs to be 4 feet deep, then we can easily eliminate that.
Yep.
And are we talking about, like
Maybe it's
from
48,000 square
that
feet.
to there, and from this to here, is there a little ephemeral question on the table, or we just presuming that they're not
I
there?
said the larger of the 2 is 48,000
Connection?
square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a
43 by 60
yeah.
is an acre,
Yeah, it's-
Because that's not part of the ask, as far as I can read it.
so. No, not at all.
Of whether or not there's anything else.
Yeah.
Comment on the 6 inches.
Yeah,
I think there's riverfront area as well.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they're showing,
Yeah,
but they're not.
we're not showing the actual buffer, but the blue line here is the,
the riverfront.
Is that, so it's a high water riverfront line, that's the bound of the river, not the bound of the riverfront area, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, we didn't show any of the buffers, just,
okay.
And I believe there's also floodplain on the site, which isn't shown.
yeah, I think that, again, it's all down here, it's kind of, comes up pretty steep, there's a couple up and downs throughout the site.
What is it you're doing with the site?
Right now, we're just trying to get the line locked in and see what we can do. That's really it. I mean, these isolated wetlands are, that's kind of a big thing to get locked in as well.
Yeah.
So there's a process called an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. You know about this? I don't know if Frank knows. And so there's a voluntary process where an applicant can come in and ask us to confirm the wetland boundaries and all the resources on the property, which locks it in for 3 years, and if we agree to it. And then they can go ahead and do future planning based on a known wetland line instead of having it change. So
Right.
time after they come through with their fully designed project.
But if I recall correctly, it still allows us, if during that 3-year period, there is a change to the amount of flooding in the area, that it needs to be redetermined, right?
No, this is 3 years, unless there was evidence of fraud or something, this would lock it in for 3
Okay.
years. It can't be changed. So they can, we don't have to approve every single resource on the site. It's possible that they only want to have a determination of a small area. If they don't show the floodplain boundary on here and are requesting approval of the floodplain boundary, we don't have to make any determination on that, and that can remain open. So if there are resources on here, we can only approve what's shown on the plan. I also would suggest that you show the 200-foot riverfront area and 100-foot buffer zones on the plan.
Okay.
Because everybody has a different way of
Mm.
marking those out, so
It's just the 100-foot buffer.
100-foot buffer and 200-foot riverfront area.
That was rather thorough.
Okay. So,
I wish you were at my first meeting. Maybe my first.
She might have been.
I know.
She might have been. It's true.
Anyway,
Anybody else? Like,
if we can try to get this
Got this, yeah.
reviewed and any comments to you in the next week or so, then you can hopefully have time to make any revisions and be back
Okay.
before us to the next meeting.
Yep.
Normally, we like to have everything to us a week prior to the hearing, if possible, but given that we've sort of dropped the ball a little bit on you here in terms of doing a sidewalk, I think maybe we can give them a little latitude on the 1 week before the meeting submission, if that's.
sure. I mean, and we're having what is it? The 7th, the 3rd,
Third.
the 3rd. Yeah, but it's gonna be a while.
Okay.
We got some
I think
time.
it's good to do a full sidewalk for sure, given the amount of resources on the
So,
property.
whereas a part of the public hearing process, we probably need to identify a date or identify a way for anybody listening
I think we should come up, I think,
to figure out how to participate if they want to.
yeah, I think that given the amount of resources on the property and what is probably gonna come after this, then we should definitely schedule like for a date and time on the sidewalk rather than do an informal process.
And even though you guys can't vote on this one, as Ben just alluded to, usually an ANRAD comes before something bigger. And so having an excuse to go out for a walk, even though you can't vote on this one, might still be worth your
Yeah,
time.
I would come because you will be able to vote on the next one, so.
And they don't necessarily have to allow abutters or interested parties to come onto the site. It's up to the applicant and the owner to decide whether or not they're okay having the public attend the site visit. But all the members of the commission are allowed to go on the site visit.
So,
So you want to schedule something now
Yeah.
and do it with everybody?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
It's gonna take a little while to walk this whole thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not familiar with the location.
do you know where the firehouse in Byfield is?
Yes.
So if you're driving from here, you go just past the firehouse, there's a road on your right-hand side. And that it's odd, if you maybe go 300 yards in, it's on your left-hand side,
Okay.
before you get to the bridge over the Parker River.
Let's see.
So next week,
Do you want to do this weekday, weekend, evenings, midday?
I would rather do it during the week if possible.
I'm not available, the only weekend day I'm available the next 2 weekends, 25th, so I'm probably also looking at
That's fine with
So
me.
you're not available on the weekend?
I'm not available on
Okay,
weekends, so.
so how about like a mid-afternoon on Tuesday,
That works for me.
Yeah, works for me.
the 13th.
Okay, I'm bringing kids.
No,
No,
that's
not.
20th.
Let me just,
20th?
yeah, that looks like it's good for me.
So you're saying like 2, 3, 4?
3:00-ish.
3:00.
And I might be able to get there a little ahead of time and maybe meet with Mark.
Yeah.
And walk some of this.
Yeah,
what's the
I don't know if you wanna
detail.
coordinate directly with Mark with that, or you can just send us an email, I can forward it off to Mark too,
Okay.
about whatever works for him.
Don't get towards dusk or you gonna get eaten alive
Yeah.
up there.
Oh, yeah.
Are you eating alive no matter when you go?
Well, if we go after the 22nd, the green nets should be.
They don't get green
Diminished.
nets up there.
And how long ago was this flagged?
You'll be fine with green nets far up.
Sometime this winter, or
This winter.
maybe
So we do think
early
the flags
fall.
are still all there?
Yeah, it's not, it hasn't been too long, probably the last few months, but no.
So July 20th at 3 p.m.?
23 p.m.
Alright. Bring him Roland? I'm gonna bring Ray.
I'm not bringing Roland, especially if you're bringing Ray.
Anybody?
Anybody from the public here for this? Tom, I know you are. Don't hold it in. It's okay.
I'll reserve my comments.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
So
I don't believe
with
that.
your consent, can we continue the hearing till August 3rd?
Yeah. 7 p.m.
Okay.
Date and time. Alright, that's a first. Who wants a second?
Second.
Alright, hands in the air for a yes. Beautiful. Great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Alright, moving right along. We have Tom, Steve Casavo, 16 and 20 Northern Boulevard. DEP number we don't have on here. What's the DEP?
I gave it here at the Zoom meeting last time.
Let me see, I'll put that right here.
Well, apparently nobody updated
There is no number.
Wait, really?
No, there is for 69, 71, 7, and for
16 and 20?
16 and 20.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm not 16 and 20.
Really?
That's,
16
Yeah.
and 20 Northern Boulevard,
but I don't think they're here.
That's the,
That's DeSalvo, right?
Yeah.
I assumed they were continuing to sit out here. I think.
Looks like
I didn't get a heads up about that one.
Alright.
As far as I know.
I'm 71, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
All right, so I will move to continue this to the August 3rd hearing at 7 p.m.
second.
Roll call, hands in the air, yes. Beautiful, alright.
So fast.
Sorry, Tom.
No, it's okay.
Alright, Town of Newbury, Orchard Street, Cart Creek Crossing Restoration, DP 050-1356.
The town requested a continuance.
They did request a
I'll move
continuance.
to continue to August 3rd at 7 p.m.
Brilliant,
Second.
thank you. All hands in the air for ayes. Beautiful. Okay, the trustees of reservations, 173 Hay Street, DEP 050-1355. An NOI for the restoration of up to 30 acres of salt marsh through restoration of hydrology altered by past practices. This one, we were just waiting on a DEP number and we have it. And they have asked us to close the meeting and they're not here. And as I recall, we didn't have anything to talk about from last time. So, anyone want to make a motion?
I think that's a wrong file number on that, just on up here. Yeah, that should be 1361.
Oh, that's very different.
Yes.
All right, so for DEP number 050-1361, who would like to, give them their order of conditions, boilerplate?
For the record, I'm abstaining on this one.
What were we waiting? The last
We were
one?
waiting for a number.
But otherwise,
Yeah, otherwise it's a restoration and we all love it.
I don't remember.
This was the one.
You don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
enough,
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
have enough
but-
votes.
We don't have enough votes. She's right. We just, even if we all three of us do it, we have to continue to August 3rd. Because we don't have Pete, and she's
I have to
refusing.
abstain.
Yeah.
Burn. That's annoying.
That's the only thing.
So, Mr. Chairman, have you thought about, to expedite some of these with the public, having, additional meetings besides just the monthly meeting? Because
We did that last meeting, actually, we're doing 2 a month now.
Or you are doing 2
We
months?
did, right? Didn't we say
No,
we're
we
gonna
said
do it
every
every
3 weeks.
every three? No,
Every-
after that.
Into September, we were gonna change it in
Yeah,
fall.
in September we're gonna.
We weren't gonna do it in summer.
So anyway, yes,
Okay.
because we got
Okay.
some full agendas and
Yeah.
we're tired of it.
Yeah, no need to be here till 11 o'clock at night.
We
We're,
tried.
we're also saying we're not seeing later than 10. We did pass that.
Okay, good.
We need to get that policy written up, but we
But
can.
we also don't wanna invite people to the meeting and then time out, and have people sit here all night expecting to be heard,
True,
and then have
but we also have legal
us get
requirements.
tired, start yawning and go home.
Right, but we also can't tell people not to come just because we get tired. That we still have to legally open the meetings and
That's my point about having multiple meetings, not that I wanna tie up more than one night a month, but you know what, I'd rather do that than sit in a chair for 5 hours.
yeah, after Jeff
Just a
talks,
suggestion.
we're on it. We agree with you absolutely.
For years, it was one meeting a month, now we're every 3 weeks. Soon to go to, Twice a month.
Twice a month.
so it's quite a bit different than it once was.
Good.
And we should be out of here good time tonight.
Yeah, we're making excellent time.
And I can see that, I'm taking the notes.
No roll call, wave your hands is awesome.
So in order to resolve the remaining items that we can't act on, if these guys listen to the recording of the Zoom meetings where those items were discussed, then they are able to vote on it.
Anything that was opened before they were sworn in.
We cannot participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we got sworn in,
2 weeks ago?
so you missed. Yeah.
So how do
For
we,
me, it was just this
are we
past.
missing anyone? No.
Pete.
Oh, so
Missing Pete.
Pete is here.
Yeah.
Then
Pete.
we can,
He had some
But the things that the things you're not recused on.
Yeah, if you weren't recused, then
yeah, those things are not,
Yeah.
yeah, so I just wanna make sure we're not perpetually having a problem, but if you three and Pete are here, then we can finish out those other items, okay?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could make a suggestion, you may want to double check with town council, there may be a way with an applicant's agreement for them to re-present a hearing if you have to.
Yeah.
And essentially call it hearing anew. The notice is still continual, so it should be valid. So
We just have to start the presentation from scratch.
right, but you may be able to, if you run into a bind
Yeah.
and you have to do it, it's better probably just to know whether or not you have to re-advertise. That's what I don't know. I know you can do it with re-advertising, but you may be able to do, since you haven't closed anything, you may be able to just
Yeah.
come into a meeting, say it's anew, represent everything, and then the new people.
Yeah. And on a big project that would be useful, but these are just these annoyances. Right, this one and the other one that
Yeah. Hopefully we can blow through the grandstand.
I mean, yeah, the restoration thing, obviously we're not in the way, it's just we can't sign anything.
Well, it's holding up other permits, so, cause it's needed for
Can we,
Army Corps and chapter 91.
I mean, maybe we could do like a special Zoom
they're not.
meeting for them.
No,
I
No?
don't do Zoom.
You wouldn't have to go.
You do have to continue to a date certain.
Right,
So-
that's what I'm saying. If they were here, so that's the problem, is that we could have a special meeting just to approve them. I would come in to do that, but they're not here, so we can't schedule with them when to come. So we're continuing to August 3rd. I'll make a motion to continue to August 3rd at 7
or
p.m.
you can,
This is the trustees?
This is trustees thing, right?
Yeah, box it on that
I
one.
think I wrote that you did continue, so I'm I guess I'm caught
Take a
up.
breather.
I guess I'm caught up.
You saw where it was going. We're looking for ways out, didn't have any. Alright, so hands in the air for
Yeah, you
continuing.
need a second.
Yeah, Dan
I did say,
seconded.
sorry.
Yeah.
Listen.
He wrote it down already.
Okay.
I didn't get the 12 seconds, but I just got the vote, so it's all fine.
Ah, that's frustrating. Alright, well, yeah, Mary, if you think of any clever ways to work around that, we're game.
sorry,
Yeah, we can, I think we can follow Tom's suggestion and ask Lisa also.
if that's the only way out, but look.
Yeah, if they've
It looks like
re-advertised.
we got everybody for the next meeting, and it should be.
Yeah, and if it's not upsetting their permitting, too much, and like, we are on
They didn't-
record as being willing and ready to
They
issue.
didn't show up,
But this is administrative.
but if they showed up, we could just send a meeting on Thursday. Give
Right.
them their permit.
Oh, yeah,
They
I
didn't
told
show
them
up.
not to.
Oops.
Okay,
Yeah, Well,
go.
we didn't know about this until,
Yeah, I know, I know.
Anyway, all right, moving along, right along.
Yeah.
Mary Beth and Larry Abbott, 69 and 71 Southern Boulevard, DP 050 1358 and 1359. Two NOIs to replace a single-family home with a new single-family home on pilings with associated site work, continued from the last meeting. Oh man, I hate
Good
these
evening.
things.
Tom Hughes from Hughes Environmental Consulting.
No offense.
That's fine.
That's who you are.
Why don't we start with 71, because I think that was really the one that there was just some outstanding detail that was asked for on the invasive stuff. So, there was an email that came out, I had sent in an invasive protocol, an email came out, and I had essentially taken, one of my invasive protocols, like I did one for the, city of Boston, and I basically turned it into a one-pager that was more specific to the site. And I did a reply all email, and I know that the chairman and Mary were on that, but also the conservation agent of West Newbury was on that. Mary, you did what I usually do.
What's that?
When you sent out that email,
Yeah.
you copied the conservation agent in West Newbury, so when I did a reply all,
Oh,
Bert got it, so.
yeah.
So I forwarded it on to the office today, so if anybody didn't get the update, I did print it.
Bert's not still there.
Bert Cummins?
Yeah,
over
he's in
at Rockport.
Rockport now.
Oh, really? Wow. Well then, I don't know who's in that job.
Jay is back temporarily.
Yeah.
Jay,
But he's
Jay hasn't
retiring.
ready yet then.
He's
I had it.
retired. They're gonna have
Okay.
a combined
Pass it down
America
to you.
this year.
Yeah.
So basically what I did, first let me explain what, the protocol is for the mature trees. They're gonna be removed when site work starts. So what I'm saying is, ideally, I would like to see them, if there's enough time, treated with triclopyr before they're removed, because that will help to limit some of the sprouting. Triclopyr is effective year-round. It's most effective when applied in around this time and also in the fall. So normally what I do is have people, like on the City of Boston thing, we called for a midsummer treatment and then a fall treatment to follow up. What I like to do is it's called frilling. You basically do a circular cut around the tree, but it's a downward cut, and then you put the triclopyr into it, and then you observe for any root sprouts or sprouting off the tree, and then you retreat immediately once you see that, and then you come back, a couple weeks later. You come back a couple weeks later, look for resprouting. At that point, once you observe full mortality of the tree, you cut it, and you've got really good success rate that way. I find monitoring, especially on bigger sites, is much easier with the plant still standing. We used to do flush cut and or cut 6 or 8 inches up in the air, paint it on the stump. The problem is it's harder to find the resprouts, and this way I actually get to see the thing die in front of me, and it's much easier. Even if we don't have time, the trees will be cut, stumps will be removed, and then any remaining roots will be treated, and any resprouts will be treated. For the smaller stuff with a small stem, typically about a ½ inch or smaller, there's not enough uptake of the triclopyr through the bark. So in those cases, we do a foliar. And there's a product that we're using on the Boston project, which is a blue foaming chemical that is, it's a surfactant, but it's really fairly safe for aquatic and non-aquatic critters, even though it hasn't been signed off by EPA as an aquatic chemical. But we did do a toxicological sort of white paper analysis on it. And it biodegrades in both anaerobic and aerobic environments within 72 hours. So and what it does is it foams and it keeps the triclopyr on the plant long enough to really get good penetration. So
you would do that instead of cut and treat?
only on the ones that are like small enough stems, like ½ inch or smaller. What I find is I don't get enough uptake of the chemical.
It's
So-
just the cut stem, okay.
Right, so in those cases, what we would do is we'd actually do foliar on the smaller ones.
Is that just because it's locust or because you find that in?
I find that
all
in
of it?
basically most woody stuff, and in locust, they're really stubborn, even when you treat them. They're really hard to kill.
Yes.
We did the hotel area over in Amesbury next to the Stop and Shop, and there was just one locust in particular that just, it kept sprouting. We kept treating and treating and treating, and it kept sprouting. It's just like this stubborn. But the more we can get some treatment in before they're removed, the less likely we're gonna have a massive problem on our hands. I don't think we're gonna have a huge problem on our hands either way if we get most of the stump out, but there will be resprouting that will occur, and as long as the following year after construction, we do a July or August treatment, and then we do a, September/October treatment to anything that's remaining. I think we'll get rid of it.
So boiling it down, you're gonna do the initial treatment on the mature trees with the spray into the cuts, and then probably from there on out is through the surfactant on the sprouts and stuff.
Yeah, basically. But it's gonna be something that the initial round is really gonna be dependent on timing. I know they wanna get started quickly, but I'm going to encourage them, if you guys vote approval, to try to line somebody up to get the treatment done. And I assume that if the commission had an agent and we were to go and ask if we could kill some black locust, we probably would get administrative okay to do it. But if the commission didn't have an objection to us starting the killing of the black locust with a commitment that we would replant natives in their place regardless of the project, we could try to get that lined up. It'll probably take a month to get somebody out there anyway. So
I might have it be under an order.
Okay. Okay, in which case what we'll do is we'll get it all lined up so that maybe we can start the minute the order's been issued and done. But so I've given you, this, I've given the timing and clarified that, the first thing on the mature things, the preference is treat them, but they'll definitely be pulled and stumps removed and then everything else treated. And then if we do run into within the site other woodies, honeysuckle or bittersweet. I know there's some bittersweet wrapped around the building at 69. That'll probably mostly go out with the building, but the same type of protocol we use.
Did you have a planting plan that went with that site?
No, what I did is in the narrative I said after removal we're gonna add 12 woody plants.
Okay, it's in here, okay.
Right, so it's gonna be bayberry and cedar, and the idea is it's gonna kind of be up in this area. But once, I wanna see what's left after we remove stuff and get the house in and get the patio and all that laid out. It's tough to envision what the site's gonna be like and where the best opportunities. We would coordinate that with the agent at the time or with a member of the commission if the agent's not hired by them. Or if you've gone through another one.
Hey,
Yeah, please stop.
don't say that.
No, I'm saying.
Careful, you might be getting a job.
I do need more time on the retirement system, but. So anyhow, so that's it. I think we had addressed everything else on the project. If you want, I can kind of run through stuff that we did on the Zoom. I mean, here are the pictures that I showed you guys online, the black locust in flower, they're really identifiable. But they're a pretty identifiable tree anyway. Here's the plan. So again, single family home, elevated minimum 2 feet. Little shell patio area out back, a lot of planting going on. This building gets removed. Clean compatible sand goes back in to backfill the hole. Bring it up to match surrounding grade.
Does anyone remember anything else we had to talk about on this one, other than the invasives?
I don't recall anything. What
Remember
was the
anything
last
different?
reading of this? But you're gonna throw some
Well, even if you were half asleep to begin with. Mary, I'm only remembering this is what we
Yeah,
had
this is
left.
the only thing I recall as being outstanding, so I would just recommend that we actually attach this to the order of conditions.
Yeah.
And that we include a special condition that Tom or a wetland scientist oversee, the invasive species control, and that it be done by a licensed applicator.
Right. The only comments I think on the invasive plan would be alternatives. Because if what is it, triclopyr? If the triclopyr doesn't stick, to roll in some manual pulling, some mechanical stuff, a different active ingredient, a different mode of action.
Yeah, so what we
So all
talked
you gotta
about
do
in
is
that,
breed resistant locust.
so the half-inch ones, we basically say we're gonna treat them if we can't pull them, right? So if they're attached to a bigger
Oh,
root.
it looked like it read the other way.
It
It looked like
No,
a tree.
no, but the trees are gonna be cut and pulled.
There's some
Basically.
you think you did some
Maybe some type of.
fast
you say
editing
that-
through
No,
the
this
middle
was-
of that
so-
paragraph.
So I literally took,
I just think that
so I took this protocol, which I wrote for, Rosendale Urban Wild, which is a massive project, and I tried to turn it into a quick one-pager. Absolutely, the preference is to pull things out entirely if we can. And-
yeah, no, you said that direct foliar application can be done to smaller saplings if they cannot be pulled.
But I think Brian's point was if you trick to clear the.
Triclopyr doesn't
Maybe-
work, we would
they
come
can
back to
alternate it, or
yeah,
you can come back with a letter saying we'd like to modify our
right,
invasive species control plan.
Because presumably what you're gonna get is some percentage of success and then some percentage of failure. And for the percentage of failure, instead of going back with more triclopyr.
Use something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, triclopyr is extremely effective on woody. I would just go back with more triclopyr till I start bludgeoning myself, basically. But
Well, why?
No,
if
no,
it
I mean-
survived the first triclopyr, like,
because it's like getting your second COVID shot. You give it's now if we treat one and it doesn't even wilt a leaf, then I might reconsider the approach. But it really is an effective herbicide if we have failure with it. I mean, if we would expect that before we can get a COC, we have to have the site free of them. So, we'll come back with another chemical request.
Yeah.
But triclopyr is a good, safe, reliable chemical. It's what, the refuge uses on woody plants. It's what really is the one of choice. And I prefer it much over using, some of the other chemicals. I steer away from glyphosate nowadays towards Habitat, which is I can't even pronounce it anyhow. Ismapyr, I think is that it?
Imazapyr?
Imazapyr.
Imazapyr is nasty stuff.
Yeah, but it's really effective.
That's what makes it nasty.
But anyhow, so with that, the only question that we left 69 open, and I think there was some concern that, we might get resprouting that extended over onto that property. So if you wanted to condition that
Yeah.
same approach be applied to that,
Yeah.
we could do
I
that.
think we need to be, mindful of the fact that this is a management plan, not a entire removal plan. It's if you're trying to manage it.
Right.
You don't need to, I think a little bit of locust on the property. The scheme of things is not, it's not as harmful as dousing the site with herbicides over and over again. So I think we make it a good effort to try to control it and.
Yeah,
At
no,
some
this
point
is a
you're gonna have
conversation
to-
that it's very easy for me to fall into about like what's
What's
perfect
your
and what's
area?
good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and as Mary notes, I mean, this is something, there's bittersweet all over the island, there's knotweed all over the island, there's,
You're not gonna
everything.
lose all the
Honeysuckle.
invasive species on that.
and locust is something I don't see a lot of on the island, so if
Give
we,
it a minute.
Certainly right. But anyways, okay, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
locust thing,
Alright, so you
I mean, we
basically
can also-
fix the typos and we'll make it part of the order.
okay, so if you guys can condition that, I'll go through and I'll email a clean copy back, but with no substantive changes.
Yeah.
If you see typos.
at least one member of the public interest.
Oh, we do?
Yes, I
Hey.
believe so. Right, you were here for this one, or did
It's mine.
I? Okay,
Sorry, I should have mentioned.
Alright,
okay,
And the
not here to
audience here.
speak, just to
No.
observe, okay.
she left her pom-poms in the car.
Okay.
So do we wanna vote on these separately?
I think if we are giving them the same order, if the special conditions for both is only gonna be the invasive add-on.
This is only referencing 71.
I think what you could do is you could basically say in the order for 69 that it shall follow the protocol submitted and
Yeah, we'll
approved
copy
under
paste, we'll do
71.
the same thing.
Okay, alright.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause they're
Or
just,
if you'd like,
Here, let me send you this new copy.
Ready?
Say 69.
at the meeting, you received a plan for 69 and I will send you a typed up
he
version
did
of
well.
that.
You gotta initial and date it.
Right,
So
so,
these are gonna be two separate properties.
well, there's two separate notices of intent and they're two separate orders. They are intertwined in that there's an encroaching structure that crosses the property line. So we can't really do one project without the other. I do think you need to close and issue separately because they're two separate orders.
Well, whatever.
You
We can do
open,
it.
you
Fine.
open together, but I suggest that what you do is,
I think we should close it separately.
I mean, it's
Close an issue
apples and
and-
oranges, so whatever.
right, the only thing I am gonna do is here is, we don't have anything significant enough. We're not gonna do the additional 12 woody plants on this. We will, if we impact any natives, we would, if we're pulling bittersweet out of a tree and it's essentially dead, we will replace that, but we'll not give you an additional 12 on 69. So with that,
69 is the smaller of the two lots.
yes, right. So unless you have any questions about the project itself, we went through that on Zoom in a lot of
We
detail.
went through that, and I'm not remembering anything else to talk about.
Airport reduction in the total impervious area, they were getting the houses up in
The planting.
compliance, elevated, so I think we felt like they were both improvements.
I think
Getting
that
rid of-
was okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna be in the same exact location that they currently are, correct?
No, they're being centered onto the lot to bring them into the zoning, the zoning compliance world. They have been approved by zoning. And so this is the plan for 69, you see it's more centered in the lot. Whereas right now it goes out into the street.
Okay, well, that being said,
I'll move to, this is the first one, short and cheap. I'll move to approve the NOI for 69 Southern Boulevard with the special conditions on the invasive management.
so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Hands in the air.
We can go
Right.
4-0.
Are you abstained or recused? Technically, what is it? Do you know?
Ineligible.
We're
Ineligible?
ineligible,
Yeah.
so I'm just writing 4-0,
Yeah.
I'm writing 6-0.
We should, do the standard conditions include anything about the, importing sand to the site?
I haven't looked at them.
Okay.
You
It's
probably,
sand.
Tom, you've seen the standard
Yeah,
condition more
um,
recently than most of us.
Well, except that Bill was rewriting them, so I'm not sure. I certainly know Doug's old one, and Doug's old one had a check mark.
It was a standard.
It was a standard thing, but I believe that in here, I think we talked about clean compatible sand.
Yeah,
And so since it's in our notice of intent, even if it's missing, I say clean compatible sand will be used, and the common interpretation on Plum Island of what that means is the same grain size analysis as the Plum Island sewer project was approved for, which is Bentley's septic sand
Correct.
right now.
Actually, Bentley calls it Plum Island sand.
Well, they call it Plum Island sand, but I think it's the Presby septic sand. They know what it is. You call
So can we add conditions?
It
If we
sounds,
close the hearing, we approve the project with subject to the special condition of the invasive species plan.
I don't think we've actually voted yet.
So I would just wanna add to your conditions that a wetland scientist oversee the invasive species management plan and provide periodic reports to the commission on, at the end of the first and second growing season.
I think you said that during.
yeah, she said that earlier, but
Yeah.
Okay,
it needs to be part of the vote technically.
and that, if not already in the boilerplate conditions, that we add conditions regarding the clean sand of similar grain size for any imported material.
Cool. So, yes, that was a first, that's a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
Hands in the air? Alright,
Perfect.
Yes.
cool,
Now we should do 71.
yes.
Okay.
You wanna do that?
The same motion for 71, so, we're gonna change this.
It's exactly the same, the invasive control, the scientist oversight, and the sand details. Alright, first, you want a second one?
We're doing it again?
We have to do both sides.
Oh, right, yes, second.
Alright, and then hands in the air, great. Alright, so both of them done,
Thank you,
Thank you
Tom.
very much.
go kill some trees.
Good luck.
I'm here for that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good project.
Congratulations. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
We should just like take all the things you have to do and make sure they're all next to each other.
Honestly, when you guys were the third Tuesday, I usually needed to have you do that, because being in Newburyport and Newbury, if you ever get to 2 meetings, I would really encourage you to do second and fourth Tuesdays or something like that, so that, those of us.
Then we have to pull all the regulations could probably be.
But,
There we go.
but
So
no,
first-
but I'm,
First and third, right?
yeah, I mean, the drawback is, when I'm separated, I can walk out in the hallway and sort of explain what just happened in the meeting to a client. I don't get that opportunity. This is fine.
Well,
I think that, we heard that there's a problem with the selections meeting, which are the opposite.
yeah, they use this room as our time on, what, firsts and thirds?
Well, if you went back to Zoom, you wouldn't have to worry about room conflicts.
Hybrid, maybe. Anyway, whatever, we'll figure it out. So who's next? We've got, we're at the end of that line? Yeah. David Daly, 22 16th Street, DEP number we don't have on here.
Yes, it's number
Yeah.
1357.
050-1357, and NOI to construct a new single-family home on pilings with associated site work, continued from the last meeting.
There are DEP comments.
Are there?
Yes.
All right,
Do you want me to read them to you?
that would be lovely.
The applicant should explain how the filling of land subject to coastal storm flowage will not increase the elevation or velocities of floodwaters, and how the project will not cause floodwaters to be displaced or reflected onto adjacent properties or private ways. And then, although not specified in the plan, the driveway should not be paved, rather compatible sand or seashells.
Okay. So, we did talk about those issues at the last hearing. Tom Hughes with Hughes Environmental Consulting. With me tonight is David Daly, the applicant, and Matt Hammer, the engineer, in case we need any feedback from them. So what we had shown, since the elevation in this general area is 10, we kind of extended elevation 10 out a little bit. There's no more than a foot of sand in any one location. And actually, let me flip to the rendered version of the plan. It's just, I think, a little bit easier. So what we did since that hearing to even further address that is, instead of bringing 10 out to about where it was like elevation 9.5, most of it a little bit was around elevation 9, because we were trying to kind of create a flatter area out back, is we've trimmed that up so that basically elevation 10 ties into the elevation 10, and it's basically taking 10 from here to here, and it's about 6 inches of sand. It's really just to give that flat area for parking under the structure. This happens all the time in and out of floodplains on Plum Island under structures. It's a really minimal amount of sand. And as I said before, we're not within the limit of moderate wave action here. So in this area, the flood water comes in. It doesn't really come in with a lot of velocity. It goes out. It's not really going to be subject to a lot of reflection and refraction, et cetera. And
What zone are we in?
AE 13. And even when it does come in, what we're putting in is sand. And we did have a missing label. This is going to be a clamshell or gravel driveway. That was a missing label from the original plan, so we corrected that. What we also did, you may remember in the last plan iteration, we had sand around the whole house. We now bring plantings right up to the house, and in the back, what we did is we shaped out a clamshell patio area. We showed 4 shrubs. There's they're either gonna be Virginia rose or Spirea meadowsweet back in that area, just kind of around that back of the house planting area. So what we end up with is an increase in the vegetation that's actually performing dune functions on site by 300 square feet. We also itemized, we had lumped together all these areas on site that we were counting as just sort of previously disturbed areas. So we broke that down into sand areas, which includes some lumps of pavement. There's an area of lawn, there's areas of gravel. And the lawn is kind of up front. There is some gravel kind of under it. It doesn't really have a deep root structure, and it's really short, so it's not serving any purpose to trap sand or perform a lot of dune functions. We're replacing that with dune grass, increasing vegetation on site. We are still trying to leave the neighbor's encroachment in place because we're just trying not to complicate things with that and just kind of leave it.
They encroach over the lot line?
They encroach over the lot line with
Was
a
it
corner,
patio or something?
well, part of the gravel drive. And then they have like a paver walk area and they have.
But no building structure?
Pavers, no building structure, but, well, stairs do crossovers. So we're trying to leave that in place because if we go to try to remove that, we remove some of the functionality of the driveway and it's just gonna, you know, it's gonna.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's just not worth doing that, moving in and immediately, you know, going after neighbors' stuff. And since we can make the regulatory argument that we're improving dune function with this project, while at the same time putting in a really modest small house that I think is really well thought out in terms of how it's designed and what the project is.
So, excuse me, Tom, so that encroached area is not
It's not being
considered in the
touched.
but it's not considered in the calculation?
It's shown on both sides of the table. It is considered in the calculations, but it exists here and it exists here. It exists in the existing and it exists in the proposed. So it is in the accounting, but on both sides of the ledger, so.
It doesn't count towards the lot coverage or anything because it's not a structure except for the stairs.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Over there, it looks like the corner of the stairs.
So,
I have a similar issue on my property.
I mean, Plum Island's just, it was developed at a time when people didn't always look at surveys. You know, so, or they thought they knew where the lot lines were. The other thing is it depends on which direction you survey from, and is it right direction or wrong direction. And there are places, I can show you places where there are pins all over the place, and some of them are right and some of them are wrong. That's why those of us who regularly work on Plum Island typically work with a limited group of surveyors because you want to make sure that you're actually getting the right lines.
Who did survey on this?
Matt Hammer's group did, but there were also surrounding surveys to tie into that made that helpful. Yeah, you know the house that's on Northern Boulevard that a lot of people think it's 4 stories, the fairly new one. If you look in the front right of that, I think you'll see a field of survey pins. You know, it's just like in a maybe 8x8 area, you just see pins like all over the place.
So your response, Tom, to DEP's comment regarding
So-
deflection of wave?
So what we've done is what we had there before, I would argue, would have had no impact on reflecting wave energy. It's common
But you
practice.
reduced it and it's only filling in the corner of the lot.
Right, and it's in the range of like 6 inches, you know?
Yeah.
It's really minimal and it's necessary in order to get a parking area under the structure.
Do you think those comments are generated based upon their anticipated land subject to coastal storm flowage regulations?
Possibly, well, they have been putting that kind of stuff in since they started more aggressively working on those.
Okay.
But
Because
out
they're
there,
essentially asking you to defend performance standards that don't currently exist.
true, absolutely true. But it's not uncommon for them to ask that, but the other thing is I'm wondering who the analyst is. I did email Jim Freely and I never got the answer on who the analyst was. And it's possible that Mike Gable being overworked, that they maybe farmed this out to somebody.
Mike's retired.
Did Mike retire?
You?
Well, there we go. See, here's what I hear. So I don't know who's doing dune stuff now. So that's probably it. It's Mike was the guy who commented on 95% of the dune projects. And I gotta say, I mean, I didn't always agree with him, but he knew his stuff in terms of, being clear and consistent on his comments. So I really think it's a non-issue in terms of how it affects flood, and even if they were to adopt some standard, as long as it's a standard that has some reason behind it, there's nothing we're proposing that would affect flood waters in a meaningful way. And if you started restricting things in land subject to coastal storm flowage like that, you couldn't build resiliency into projects.
So something that it doesn't sound like the DEP comments get to, and I don't think we've covered, but you know, you've got the riprap here, you have the riprap here, so the space between, right? Like if anything big comes in, it's gonna be channeled right at your structure.
The topography is about the same, right? So erosion and scour would occur here, but if anything big comes in, it's gonna go over the landform and come back. I really don't think that those are gonna have any, once you get water up into this elevation 8 or 9, it's actually overflowing that stuff and it's irrelevant.
Does the riprap exist?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, I know, and we can't propose new riprap in this location for a number of reasons. One is it's coastal dune. We used to have an interpretation on Plum Island that Plum Island had coastal bank, and then there's a decision that basically you can't have bank in dune. If you look at a lot of the old NOIs, pre-me and I think pre-Mary, a lot of them talk about coastal bank
I didn't know that, yeah.
on the basin. A lot of the walls and stuff that were permitted. So, and then if it were coastal bank, we would have had to have a structure pre-1978 in order to install riprap. So we can't propose riprap here. Existing riprap could be maintained with an NOI, but it would have to be proven that.
But you're not worried about anything like coming in, bouncing off the house, bouncing off the
No,
riprap, bouncing
no,
back.
because you've got to think 3 dimensions, right?
How tall is that
I don't
riprap?
think, I don't.
It's flush with the ground, right? It's-
Well, that whole lot drops off towards the basin.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, and if you look at where this
Anything
is.
that's gonna undercut, the riprap coming back and
Yeah.
then,
And that was if there was wave action.
There's not gonna be enough wave
Right.
action in there. It's
You'd have to get.
You're way down at the tiny bottom of the
Right, I
basin.
mean, what it could do if you had persistent wave action is it could carve out this area, right? And
So
cause
that's
erosion.
more of a edge of land issue rather than a feature
And-
of a building issue.
Right, and it's irrelevant to our project because we're not proposing really to do anything there.
Last time we dealt with this, I remember was on Plum Bush Downs, where it certainly could be an issue, but I don't.
Yeah, it's a much different,
It's a
It's a way different,
area and exposure.
So you're
So
on the basin.
yeah,
The wave you're getting is from the wind.
that's it, and then that's right. Yeah.
And did you remind me, did we get resolution on the buildability question? Did you go through that? And
so this is a grandfathered lot, it has sewer, it has water. And the applicant has been to see the building inspector, and yeah, it's a buildable lot, and because we're in the riverfront and because we're in the dune, and also cognizant of the fact that, you know, there's a lot of neighbors that have been used to a lot without a house on it, we've really made an effort to build something that's pretty small and that's as far away from the, you know, the basin as possible, and it leaves this area not only intact but somewhat improved with additional plantings. So, and we're not proposing. We only are proposing to plant in these areas that are called out as sand. We're actually not proposing. This is like a little bit of a beach area down here. It is colored in, but we did not label that as planting, and we're not proposing to plant on the beach below elevation 6.
All right, I've got one more question on my mind, but let's see anybody else. Ben, you got anything?
I just, on a buildability question, why, do you have any idea why this has been a 132 land use code for umpteen years?
No idea.
Undevelopable, the assessor could have been collecting a lot of taxes.
Well, and it, I don't know. I mean, there were.
I think it had a trailer on it at one point.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't know, maybe it was pre-sept, you know, back when it during the septic days.
I'm sort of curious what others, if there are other similar lots, if that's the case, it might just be that they don't,
Well, so
they don't fit zoning, nothing out there does.
right, if it has water and sewer, it was determined during the Plum Island project to be a buildable lot for
No,
that
it's
purpose.
just a
So,
matter
yeah.
of curiosity, why.
And there's been a betterment fee paid on that, or is being paid on that lot.
Right,
Say
yeah.
that it has a water and sewer there.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, maybe it was the owner, maybe the owner went in to the assessor and didn't want to pay taxes on it, and maybe it was sort of before government was as professional as it is now, or maybe it's just hung in there like that, I don't know.
I did look back at the deeds, just a matter of curiosity, and it seemed like the owner at some point, that the town took it over for taxes,
Okay.
and then they sold it back to the guy for $1 or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there are lots that were buildable years ago that are now on the beach, so it's, you know.
That is just,
Yeah, I don't know the answer, I know that we've gone to the building department, we've determined it's a buildable lot,
really are.
and it's got water and sewer, so. Good.
I have a couple thoughts on special conditions, but I don't have any other comments.
I mean, the comment about the buildability thing, you know, I'm just wondering, have they changed any of the velocity zones anytime soon? Because new development was prohibited by the bylaw in
For
the certain zones.
VE and AO, this is not
Right.
in or near either.
And
of
so
those.
was it perhaps presumed or
This-
mismapped?
If anything, this might have been out of the floodplain previously. It's possible this was in the
It
old
was
C
never
zone.
in a V zone, no.
No, absolutely not. I mean, certainly has gotten a deeper floodplain. I mean, the AE 13 shocked a lot of us when that first came out in the salt marsh and some of
No,
these
it's-
areas.
Yeah,
I mean, that was what, a 4-foot increase in,
yeah.
you know, just when they went from the datum change to 88 from 29, that added a foot. Like in the back, well, you know, a 9 was really an 8.2. So this would have been an 8.2 years ago, and now it's a 13. So it's a 4.8 foot increase in the AE zone in that area, in that last round of mapping. Part of that is because FEMA incorporated more conservative modeling and also stretched dollars further by extending their cross sections in the flood modeling further apart. Flood maps are prettier, but they're not necessarily as detailed modeling as they used to be.
Or as accurate.
Well, yeah, I mean, the modeling methods are better, but the amount of data that went in is less.
Correct.
So it's like, but there was a lot of pressure after Katrina and Sandy to really update all these old black and white flood maps that were horrendous. I mean, I don't think Mary or I missed trying to interpret those things. They were brutal.
Yeah, so in the same vein then, just sort of, you know, you're not worried about the energy flowing this way and
Right.
hitting the building. But what about the sort of channelization here? You've gone from, in a manner of speaking, you've gone from a sheet flow to now this narrow window, very similar to the situation on the
No,
public.
it should,
Would you?
again, 3 dimensions, think 3 dimensions, all right? So this is what the building looks like. You've got just these pile touchdowns, you have the 3.5 by 3.5 utility chase stairways. The water still is sheeting. It's maybe wrapping around a couple piles here and there like it does on every house in Plum Island, but it's not channelized. The only thing that arguably could channelize is if we put a big thing of fill in and change the landform so that we had narrow corridors, and we're not doing that. We've reduced how much sand we're adding. In
Plus that
response.
sand drains unbelievably quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is the sand not only, I mean, I would actually argue that if we kept the original sand profile we proposed, that we probably are tapping more energy out of a storm with the additional sand volume. But, you know, it makes it easier to address DEP's comments to not have it there, so.
I'm used up. Anybody else, you got the conditions in mind? Oh yeah, I do need to check in. Anybody, or you guys are here for this one, obviously. Are you guys here for this?
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
just kind of here to learn.
Oh, all right.
The process, there was a house recently built in that neck of the woods, and kind of found out if you didn't get involved, there was issues with things, so I figured I'd come to the meeting and listen to how things are going. A couple quick points.
Can we get your name and
Christopher
address?
Smith.
Do you want to come up? You can
No,
look
okay.
at points or.
Christopher Smith, and what was your address?
Number 17, 16th Street.
I'm number 21, directly in front.
I can answer actually a couple questions. You mentioned taxes. 1950, and it was $211. So you could have picked it up in 1950 for $211. There wasn't, and somebody mentioned there was a trailer on the property, that was actually 2 houses down.
Yeah, where Lynch's house is today.
Yeah, he was an electrician, passed away about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But there hasn't, the best we can find, there hasn't been a property, there has not been a building on the property as far back as we've gone. And we did ask the people downstairs to kind of pull the records, so there hadn't been a property there previously. So in terms of water and flooding, we have seen that come up about 15 to 20 feet beyond the granite column towards the street. So you will get water there, I'll guarantee it.
Yeah.
Just, you know, so if they're parking under the house, they will get water. That's a guarantee. And we're just here just to make sure that, again, we saw something go up on that neck of on our neck of the street that kind of has been a debacle from the get-go. Just to make sure that the rules and regulations, you know, from building codes to conservation, just to make sure things are being followed.
Works for me.
Yeah, and one thing I will note, we did, and we went over this with the commission, we do have a tight limit of work, which I'm just noticing. Hey Matt, where's the limit of work line?
Yep.
Oh, is it? I thought we drew one across the lot.
Matt Hammer with Metaplex.
Is this the limit of work?
This is the limit of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that's equipment work, everything beyond that was hand. I thought we had drawn one across here, but I think that might have been
It's the
early.
horseshoe around the whole property.
Yeah, so I know that, you know, David Daly's, you know, he's actually looking to have this be his home, but he's also a builder and he knows he's gonna have to either work with neighbors for places to park a vehicle, or he's gonna end up having to just bring people in, and this is not gonna, it's gonna be a tight site to build. And I assume you're talking about the one on 20th Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that was, even during hearings, there was a lot of concern about how.
Yeah, just, I mean, you know, an asbestos roof gone overnight without permits in place, parts of the house being deconstructed without permits in place. I mean, I showed up, we talked about parking, day one, cars in my driveway.
Yeah.
Day one. So it's just, if you're not involved, then you can say, what the heck, do whatever you wanna do, but, you know, just making sure that the rules and regulations and how the house is built, where it's built, that the rules and regulations of the overlay district are being adhered to, and that's all.
Yeah, and I know David would be happy, if he hasn't already talked to you, he'd be happy to give you his contact information.
Yeah, I've seen the plans.
Okay.
So, you know, just reach out if there's a problem on this thing.
Yeah, no, you know, like, we're a little concerned how close it is to the street, so that's gonna have to go to a variance meeting, obviously, for building codes, correct?
You know, you're allowed to average the setbacks of the left and right homes.
Right, and so Mimi's house is 10 feet or 9, Paul's house is 27 or 30. So if you're just going left and right.
Yeah, Matt, do you wanna?
Yeah, how you doing? We did vet the setbacks to the building, to the lot lines with the building department.
Okay, so that's still has to go to variance, correct?
No, it's gone through the building department to be determined that our setbacks should comply.
So the overlay district doesn't?
We don't have to go get a variance.
Okay. So I guess, okay.
Yeah, we're under pressure from another law, which is the Rivers Protection Act, and the basin is considered part of the river. And we have to go through all available options to move the house as far away from mean high water of the basin as we can. So we had to perform that due diligence.
So it's not the jut out where the 2020 Street property juts out to the property so you can make your setbacks fit. So you get houses forward ahead of the jut out. But you can still build if you build thinner, and you can still be within 10 feet.
No, it's not a zoning setback, it's being as far away from the river, which the basin is considered a river.
Right, well, 2020, this is 10 times closer than this property.
Right, but that was a replacement of an existing structure, so this degraded riverfront comes into play there. In this case, we don't have an existing structure there, so.
Yeah, and hey guys, let's
but
try to stay on topic.
Well, he's just going to,
Right.
making the point that he can't move the house further back.
Right,
Right,
and it seems
right.
like we're
And
drifting
it's-
into other jurisdictions.
Right, and I'm
ours.
explaining it in the context of the Wetland Protection Act and the rivers regs,
Yeah.
so.
They can't push it further towards.
No, they already had the building meeting. So,
Well, there are two different issues. One is this.
conservation,
Right,
And
and,
the, and the,
I
and the
understand,
setback issue, yeah.
and I understand, and then there's the building, which is the setbacks and everything else, correct?
right, and for that, what I suggest is if you guys wanna have a conversation with the applicant, like in the hallway about stuff that's not germane to the
Yeah,
Wetland
conservation,
Protection Act.
I understand, it's just, the reason I'm here is we've seen other things go on that we'd like to be a part of.
No, understood. In terms of what the Conservation Commission is here to do, I feel like not only have we put together an application that meets and complies with the regs, but I think we've demonstrated that we really have tried to make this as small and have as least an impact as possible. And
What is the size of the utility, Chase?
3.5 by 3.5.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I've only said it 5 times, so.
I think the only qualm I have here is that that's a really tiny dumpster. Your area of
Temporary construction
It's a little-
dumpster, well, it's, the
Yeah.
sewer line doesn't define the limit of it, okay? It can go over this way a bit.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff will go right onto trucks and be.
And there's just a little dash mark, that's all.
Well, you're gonna build
we
your-
own our own mini dump trucks. I don't even use dumpsters 90% of the time. It's a mini Isuzu dump truck, small, it's compact. I build in a lot of small areas, so we pull it into the house, dump it. So I don't use dumpsters.
Yeah, alright, works.
The driveway will probably be the last thing done, so
Yeah.
you can always use a little drive.
Especially new construction.
Yeah, exactly, so you're gonna.
Still the way it
Yeah.
works, you don't
Go
leave a
way out.
dumpster there the whole time, so, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Special conditions, Mary.
I had just the restoration planting overseen by wetland scientists and annual reports, provided to the commission until the issue, by December 1st, until the issuance of a certificate of compliance. That makes sense, so,
Say that again?
sorry,
Restoration.
mumbling, restoration and planting should be overseen by a professional wetland scientist with annual reports on the restoration, success of the restoration, coverage of restoration by December 1st of each year until issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Wouldn't that be, just a question, wouldn't that be covered under the certificate of compliance application to determine that all of those plantings were
It would
successful?
be, it
So
would
why would
be,
we put the burden of the cost of a additional wetland scientist to oversee something that the conservation agent is going to review, as well as we are going to get a bite at that apple?
Right, it is a good point, except that we wanna, if there's a problem, you wanna get it early. So all it means is, going out, taking a picture and saying, yeah, that dune grass is still growing. Providing an email to the commission saying, here's my report, it's this percentage has failed or whatever it is, so that then they replant, and then by the time they do issue a request for a certificate of compliance, it's done, and we've been following it and tracking it during that time, so.
Or to put it a different way.
It just seems like an undue burden to me.
Right, but to put it a slightly different way, as opposed to hiring a landscaper who doesn't know how to plant grass into sand and is just gonna fail outright, in a manner of speaking,
It saves in the
it's an
long run,
insurance
yeah.
fee.
But shouldn't that be on the homeowner or the builder rather than us putting that condition on it? It seems overly burdensome to
It's
me.
very typical that
Yeah.
this is a small amount of restoration, so it's not really I don't think a
You're only talking about
significant
14 plants, right?
Yeah.
oh, no, we're also talking about a bunch of
Dune grass.
dune grass,
burden.
right. I mean, I think to Brad's point, I think, and to Mary's point, I think it's always helpful for a commission to be sure that things are on track on the mitigation end, because often what happens,
Either it doesn't get done.
it doesn't happen, the
stops.
house goes up and then
Yeah.
somebody forgets about it and they need the COC because they're refinancing and they've got no plants on the ground. But I'm not sure it needs a wetland scientist, it's certainly not on all projects, but I think you could do something you could require photographs, plants to be in by.
Okay, in this case.
Yeah,
Not
I-
outside,
yeah,
it's the
I-
homeowners who do it.
Yeah, you could have the homeowner submit photographs.
I
And,
don't get a bite, I don't get a
Right.
bite at this apple.
no, but and on this project, David might hire me to come in and do the photos anyway. But I think I do agree with Mary, because I've been an agent and I've also been a consultant, and I've had to rescue people who have not done the right thing until they panic and need a COC.
Right.
I would much rather have people on track towards compliance, but you do have to be cognizant that every time you do say under the purview of a wetland scientist, that is just another check. And much as I like earning money, it is another check that somebody has to pay, and the soft costs are pretty extraordinary with a lot of these projects. So
The reality is that having an agent or not having an agent, having a part-time agent,
Right.
they're not not gonna have time to follow through on each and every permit and compliance for each one. They're gonna be monitoring
I get
whatever
it.
stuff's active construction. So I'm fine if it's just a matter of documenting that the plants are living or not. The homeowner can do that, but I think it's important that somebody like Tom is at least in place when it's being put in, so the proper plants get put in. All the time they go to the nursery, get the wrong plants, get the wrong cultivars, whatever it is, and then it's a wasted money. So,
Right.
So wetland scientist on site when planting.
or at least just they don't have to be on site the whole time to supervise it. To
So-
make sure
so-
that you get a copy of the
How about using
invoice
the word
for plantings.
oversight
Yes.
rather than.
Yeah.
Than,
I mean, what often happens is I get a call from a client, they need to do dune grass planting, so I call the different nurseries, and I mean, this year, I actually, because of COVID and difficulties in people getting it, I ended up ordering thousands of combs of dune grass and delivering to my clients. Like, the UPS
Show
was
them how to
delivering.
plant it and
Yeah,
they
no,
plant it
and
themselves.
I actually looked for good YouTube video links for them to watch, and I just kind of said, watch this. It's not that hard.
No.
And I actually had one attorney who was in a big violation in Salisbury who called me up on a Sunday after he'd done it all weekend. He said, you know something? He says, you can't tell the commission this, but I really like that.
Yeah. So,
But anyway, so I'm happy to be
that's-
involved, but again, I think what's important is, proof that the plants went in when they went in, and that they just get checked on and replaced as needed during that first 2 growing seasons that's typically required. But
And this is the part where I throw in a plug. Instead of just a PWS, it should be a PWS and or a CERP. That would be even better.
Okay.
But
Certified,
certified ecological restoration practitioner. Those are fancy. But the other detail that all this is about is that this happens too, where like he moves to Florida, like he retires, leaves the project in the lurch, or these guys decide that they're gonna go live in California instead of staying here, and so the permit stays live, and you can hand off the permit, and it keeps it open so that even if the players that got the permit that you trust roll over into new players that maybe you never have met before.
but don't the owners of conditions follow?
Right,
follow the
exactly, which is
property,
why
not
you-
the owners.
Well, right, but that's why you overwrite the order sometimes. Like, he doesn't need this order of conditions that Mary's talking about, he would do this fine. But if other people come in, this is just one more example of why you might sort of overburden the orders.
Yeah, so that's where I respectfully disagree on that overburdensome.
Yeah.
We've got laws, we've got regulations, follow. It's kind of simple.
Right, and one thing I would say, with regard to the PWS and the other certification, I think you should just say, a qualified wetland scientist or whatever. I don't have a PWS because I'm not a member of that association that issues PWSs, yeah. No, it's an association title that I've been doing wetland stuff.
You buy into it.
It doesn't have to be a PWS. I
All right, so what are the
moving on
special
to other
conditions?
special conditions, I think
Yeah, we're
we beat
getting-
that one
We're
to
getting
death.
distracted.
That there be a pre-construction meeting with a representative of the
Yeah.
commission. That we do, what's the feeling on getting construction updates bi-weekly, by email? Or do we need to monitor this during construction? I'm just afraid that without an agent, we're gonna need to.
What
add
is the
some
construction
notice.
schedule for this one? Like, when you guys get all the permits, is this gonna like start next week, or is this like in next spring?
We have a lot of construction projects going on, but I gotta also take advantages of availability of steel when it's available, so It could be as soon as a month, it could be 6 months, I gotta be honest with you, I don't know. Probably closer to like 2 to 3, cause I got some really big projects I'm working on. So probably I would probably say close to August, September.
I mean, that, like, while active work is being done, some kind of documentation, yeah.
So can I suggest that, how about she'll notify the commissioner or its agent 7 days prior to start of work, and then update the commission or agent monthly during work with progress reports.
I mean, yeah, the paper, the write-ups are all right, but I'm more inclined to, you know, have a picture, like photo points, kind of thing, and like weekly while things are happening, so that you can see.
So reports
progress,
with reports with photographs, but I think something that my client can do, you know, just so that you guys see that and know
I don't
what's
think we
going
need
on.
7 days prior notification, I just want a pre-construction meeting. So
yeah.
whether it's arranged 7 days prior is up to
I think so. I think 72 hours is what Newburyport uses. I think Salisbury's 48.
But just let's forget about the number and just say we just want a pre-construction
Yeah,
meeting before the start of the meeting, work.
Yeah, and if there's no agent on the table, that we need some kind of photographic thing. And if we have an agent, they can go out
I
and do
don't
it on
think we
their
can
own.
write that in the order, so.
Yeah, don't worry
just
about it.
No, you
saying, having a pre-construction meeting requiring monthly updates, status updates on the status of construction, once it's started, during that period of active construction, and having some reporting on the mitigation plan fixes. Those 3 things.
Okay. You good? Kind of off on the side here, I'm facing this way. That's nice. I'd like to keep going through.
Or I'm gonna let you make motions.
I make a motion that we approve the project subject to those 3 special conditions, which should I repeat as part of the motion?
No, but you're gonna write this one up. Because we don't have an agent. Yeah, you're taking notes and scratching out your own thing. But
Construction meeting, monthly updates and photos, and no, I had a 3rd one.
Monitoring.
The monitoring,
Yeah, the
the
monitoring.
scheduling.
I also had a 4th one, no stockpile outside of the limit of work line, but that might not be necessary since it's a limit of work.
Yeah, outside the limit of the work is a road.
Yeah, I think it says like anything beyond that will be done by hand. So.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 3. That's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call. Yeses. Hands in the air. Beautiful.
And I might suggest when you do get an agent, that it might be a good idea if you
Monthly
just set up a
updates,
workshop
monthly
on
updates,
developing
and
a
then,
standard order conditions, so that some of this stuff,
monitoring of
the monitoring, you just put that in there. If it involves planting, you should.
Well, and ideally, this gets into the bylaw conversation that we're having. This is something that really should just be in the regs, and then we don't have to make.
No, but you still need it in the order.
Yeah, you do.
And we're not touching we're not touching tile in the wetland pile.
That's a good point, yeah.
Just update your standard order and then put your standard order online, so
We
that.
should just update the
Wait,
regs.
you want us to put stuff online and like have PDFs and distribute them the week of the meet? Like, this is.
I know.
Calm down.
No, but I'm just saying,
Calm down,
if you start with a standard order that includes a lot of this stuff, then.
We've been working in the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that would cut a lot of this discussion.
I want to cut the orders and just have regs, but that's half of these orders. They're just things that ought to be.
Well, that's why Doug originally developed a checklist way of doing an order, which was really effective, and it was actually pretty progressive when he did it.
Yeah. When did he do that? Like 1998?
It was a while
You
ago.
guys voted?
Yeah.
Approve for?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
All right,
Greg,
moving
for
right
your
along.
project.
And then I requested.
Thanks, guys. Congratulations. That's one.
Yeah, Mancy's next.
Yeah, so.
Hold on, let's open it, then we'll do the, yeah.
We gotta do this.
What do we got? Oh, we gotta sign it, yeah. Okay. Alright, so then opening up,
Are we actually talking about Manatee?
Well, only
only to
did I
continue.
continue?
Hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, let's formally, so the camera knows we started something. David Mantee, 0 Pine Island Road, map R30, lot 5, DEP number 0501330, an NOI to construct a dock/pier, ramp, and floating dock within Saltmarsh Resource Area in ACEC. Continuance requested from the applicant's representative to the July 13th meeting. And
So, we've requested another continuance because the refuge manager was supposed to have gone to the site about 3 weeks ago, and he got hung up doing pepperweed treatment on another site, and he said he couldn't get out there till earliest the middle of this month. So, we weren't aware of any Fish and Wildlife concerns until that last hearing. And now that we know there are some, I had a good discussion with him. He wants to look at the site, and then if we're able to incorporate any feedback from them into the design or approach at building, we wanna do that. So we've asked for that continuance. I will also be getting you a letter responding to your things. I tried to touch on things in an email to you on kind of some general things that are in there, but I've just been absolutely out straight, and it's been a little nuts. I've got like 3 days this week at GH, so it's just like the last month and a half has been fun. But that's just an aside.
Yeah, that's not
so
really
so anyway, but so we've requested a continuance, and you know, I expect that the refuge manager will get out there, and if he doesn't, then we'll just have to move forward. But we do want to try to work with him.
Okay. And then what
are you planning to do about a 401 water quality cert?
That was my question.
That'll be in our response. We'll deal with that. Yeah, it's part of the regulatory part of the letter that I'll be submitting.
You're not planning to say we don't think we need a 401 water quality cert, are you?
It requires a 401 water quality cert. It requires an SVN, and then there's a roundabout thing in the water quality cert issued to the Army Corps that I need to go through in more detail. So
you know, we love your water roundabouts, so.
I know.
Yeah.
Does it not require NEPA as well?
If it requires a state action, it would.
Well, it needs a waterways license. That's your state action.
No, it doesn't need a waterways license because there's no permanent structure below mean high.
There we go again. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so
don't waste too much of your client's money. That's fine.
APA's gentle.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we will
keep it
providing
jurisdictional
with more detail.
It is jurisdictional.
No,
So that's
the
continued.
deal.
Do we need
Yeah,
a
we need to
motion?
do a motion to continue. Yes.
A motion to, are we doing August 3rd or are we doing the next one?
It may end up at the next one. I
Mhm.
know he wants me to keep going meeting to meeting, so if we can do August 3rd.
Are you going to be here anyway?
Probably.
Whatever.
So,
Continue to August. Or make a motion to continue.
No, wait, did we ever, sorry, before we're done with this, we were also looking to see if this was properly notified or not.
yeah, he did.
Oh, right.
No, so
was
he
this
did-
properly notified about? Did the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service get notified
Yes.
originally?
Yes, but they were no, so here's the problem. They were notified as deemed at the assessor's office. The assessor's office has the Hadley Real Estate Division of Fish and Wildlife, who never told the local folks about it.
Have we gotten confirmation that the Hadley folks, the
You-
Region
you
5,
I believe
that
way
Region
back,
5 was
I
notified?
believe way back when Mr.
Excellent.
Mandy provided proof of mailing when he
Okay,
first
so
filed.
I just wanna confirm that, because
So-
if not, then you guys are gonna, if it didn't happen and we don't have confirmation, you'll have to renotice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have your consent to continue to August 3rd?
Yes, I requested that by email.
Okay, so I make a
We didn't see that email yet, sorry.
Second,
I saw the email.
Make a motion to continue the meeting to August 3rd.
second.
Thank you. Roll call. Hands up. Beautiful. Okay. So then that's something that
Staley. Mary, what was Staley's DEP number? You saw that up on your phone?
Daily, 1357.
all right. And our final item is Nathan Gray, 20 Cottage Road. The DP number today. Is that still not got a number?
No, it was never properly filed apparently, because there's still no number.
There's no, it's not on the DEP website, we've been talking about it for months.
Oh, yeah, so,
This is ridiculous.
So there is an enforcement order that is just sort of in limbo. I know it's incomplete, I went by there.
Yeah, and we don't have Nathan now either. So.
And
it should not have even gone to notice of intent, it should have been just take the structure out of the wetland immediately. But it kept getting tied into this other filing, with this other work that he wanted to do. I thought,
So let's close it.
the enforcement order,
No, can we close the NOI?
well, no one's appeared,
Yeah,
right?
so let's close
For
it.
weeks and weeks, yeah.
So let's close it, and then all we have is an enforcement order, there's nothing tied
We
to
deny
anything.
it, we just vote to deny it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that,
I'm fine with that.
he hasn't shown up for 2 meetings in a row now.
Right, hold that thought, let me just
Okay.
think this one through a second. So, when I.
Night, Tom.
When I spoke to him last, this was when we were pre-Cara, and we were doing administrative outreach. He was in a position where he couldn't move until he got his septic issue sorted out through the Board of Health. And so this was one of those things like the Tetris would rearrange itself once Board of Health said your septic can or can't go wherever. And that was the last I heard about it. And so do we want to just say, drop this and go straight through the EO? Or do we want to wait and like check in with the Board of Health to see if that process is moving along in their own vortex before dropping him off? Because if he fixes this septic issue and comes back and said, hey, Board of Health said this, now we can pick this up again.
No,
Or do we just
I thought he
say,
said he was leaving.
well, yeah, he's also selling the property.
No, and so I think what we're due is that if we vote to deny this, then he has an outstanding enforcement order that he has to remove the woodshed, fabric covered steel frame structure, and everything else he had piled in the wetland out of the resource area.
Right.
And then if he wants to do this other stuff, he can renew it.
Either that or we send him a letter saying, we're gonna assume that your notice of intent is withdrawn because of its failure to proceed.
That's a better way.
Okay, so then next question is, there is a property transfer coming up.
Mhm.
I know that open NOIs get noticed, usually by the real estate people. Do
By the
enforcement
by the
orders,
closing.
How?
Yeah,
It's not recorded.
right, oh, good point.
It's nothing's recorded yet.
No, they noticed it was.
The enforcement order.
The enforcement order's not recorded?
So then,
Did it even never get officially issued and handed to him?
Who knows?
okay, so then the resolution
We
really,
voted on one, but whether he actually,
we need to ask Gretchen to record the enforcement order,
how do you do that?
right?
No,
No,
I
we
don't
do.
think that they typically get recorded.
Right, but, well, right, typically you've resolved the problem, but when the problem is that there's gonna be a land transfer,
It would be nice just to see the enforcement order and see what.
Yeah, we should get a copy of it, we should, what I suggest is write a letter, attach a copy of the enforcement order to it, and say, you filed a notice of intent on such and such a date. We still don't have any file number, and you failed to appear at every hearing since whatever date. We assume that this notice of intent, unless you appear at August 3rd and tell us otherwise, we will assume that this notice of intent has been withdrawn, and we won't take any further action on it.
Well, except for the enforcement order.
Except for the enforcement order, which stands.
yeah, I mean, it
Because
makes sense.
that's,
This is
we
dragging.
don't have to actually deny it if he's not ever pursued it. We just say, we assume you've withdrawn it.
I think it was almost, there was supposed to be an NOI when he got his septic
Bill
stuff.
kept saying he was helping him, and
Right.
he wasn't really helping by by promising he's gonna do something that he wasn't going to do.
Right, so it's all
So
messy and
meanwhile,
confusing.
this guy just put a structure, temporary structure, like one of those Quonset hut things right in the middle of a wetland. And, it's a really tight site. All he had to do was take it out and restore it. I mean, this is a year ago? I mean,
It's getting close.
well,
It's
maybe
9
not a year
months.
because when did
I
I
think it's
start?
9 months. I
January
think it
or
was
something.
September.
No, so that's
October.
summer, right? Late
Yeah,
last
it was
summer?
September.
Yeah, it's been a long
September-ish.
time.
And it's just like,
Where's
gotten
Cottage Road?
It's across from the old
The lower green,
Lower Green.
Oh, okay, almost to the Raleigh line,
I mean,
not that far, before the Parker River.
for the
before the river.
Yeah.
with the old cemetery.
On the
And
right.
you hang a right.
New
Oh, and
houses.
south
Across from
right
Newman.
outside.
Across from Newman.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Alright,
And
so
then the
then,
Hero development?
The one that's already done, not the one we're gonna.
No, the one that he's working on now.
Yeah,
No,
the
The two big houses.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
It's down past that on the
Yeah.
left. It's a tiny, tiny little house on a very small lot that's completely surrounded by wetland. And he is a good guy trying to do, you know, something.
Wanna do like
Like an
environmental
environmental
justice.
education.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he just put it right in the middle of the wetland.
Obviously, he's not educated on
Yeah.
environmental.
I mean, and I don't know how he purchased the property, he's not owned it for that long. He must have bought it with a bad septic system, I didn't think he could do that,
You can't, Title V,
but,
won't allow him to sell it.
you know,
Well, it has to be repaired within 5 years of purchase or something. There's a deadline, I think it's 5 years. And maybe that was part of the sale price is, you know, it's on you
but
to
it's, the whole
to
thing's
do the
weird,
repair, yeah.
basically, it's not a straightforward.
Alright,
Does the registry accept blue, signatures?
nobody's ever stopped me before. Not the first time.
Alright,
So what are we doing with Nathan Gray?
It's a good question.
So-
We're writing a letter.
Yeah. I can say the draft a letter, for your signature.
Okay.
From the distributor company chair,
Okay,
that says that we,
I just wanna make sure, like,
And
the
we assume that you're
Plinko,
withdrawing.
we're assuming that you're withdrawn unless you appear at the meeting on August 3rd and tell us differently.
right, and this,
And that the enforcement order that was issued on whatever date it was
was that ever actually issued?
remains, that's what we have to determine. So whoever has access to
The
the
good
file.
news of that is that Gretchen was actually the administrative assistant when we did it.
Right, so she may be able to just provide a copy of it.
So the hanging, so what are my questions for like
Well, I
calling
think
in?
we signed one, didn't we? We signed one.
I don't.
We did, but we also had the other enforcement going on that other property at the same time, right? The,
Oh.
the dune, the
The
whole
dune,
parking
that's
lot.
right.
We actually encouraged him to do an enforcement order.
Yeah, we never, I don't know if we ever did. We finally did that this, June?
Yeah,
Right,
May,
but did we
June.
sign
well, we
that?
signed one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, on the Dropbox, there's a enforcement order folder now, and it's got the,
The one for him, whatever that.
There is?
Justin
Leonard,
Leonard.
was it?
Justin Leonard.
Yeah,
And it's, I just took a quick look at it, I don't know if it's pretty, there's hardly anything there, I don't know if
it's accurate enough.
Relocating center, for all workers spot.
I mean, that's just another thing that could, you know, we should maybe, you know, inspect what actually we got there and make sure everything's
We might need
on the
to
move.
reissue a new one or something, or update it somehow.
There's like nothing here.
Again, who knows if it was actually sent or if it was just sort of drafted and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion on certificate of compliance for 7801 Road?
No.
Apparently, it was noted in here.
Yeah, no, that's just a standard.
sorry.
We got an email that Cara walked it and felt that everything looked perfectly fine.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically, the vote now that we have to take is,
It's
does
a
everybody
partial?
believe Cara?
What?
It's a partial though, right? They're just looking for a partial certificate.
Yes, yeah, the dune grass is done.
So this is where my objection is, why would we issue a partial certificate of compliance?
I don't
On
remember.
just the dune grass, and then the rest of the project is approved at some.
Right, we don't have anybody to ask the
Yeah,
question
no.
of, so.
I honestly think that I would guess that this sounds like something we did at some point, and we probably did everything else. And there's a.
Oh,
there's
the
a dune-
pre-existing
there's
partial
a
is
pre-existing
closing
partial,
out.
and then the
Last
dune
piece
grass
is closing
failed, and then now they had to
That
replant.
makes more sense.
Yeah, well, which
It's
is another great point of why we make sure that they do, especially with the dune grass, because it's like a year, they always fail. There's always some portion that fails, and then it's a whole year, you have to put this off, off.
So off the record,
Well, we're still on the record.
Okay, so then I won't say anything.
There you go, that's a great idea, I have that problem. So that is certificate of compliance,
So are we good with voting on that? Are we gonna make the presumption that that's what happened?
I
Or
will-
we'll hold it and double check?
I will put my,
Foot in your mouth?
no, I was gonna put my faith in Cara, but I'm just gonna look at 78 Old Point Road on the aerials and see if it triggers any memories for me.
There is, it was a demolition of a very decrepit red house that was there. and small house built on pilings in the corner of Old Point and Davoli Street, I believe it is.
Yeah, Davoli Way,
Yeah.
78 Old Point.
And they planted dune grass on either side of the structure.
You've seen
What, do you remember when this was?
She's just down the street from me.
I mean, it looked good, it doesn't,
The pattern of the plantings were not what I would have done, but I think it will be just fine.
I mean, what is the threshold there? Is you gotta have like 70% or?
Oh, it's 100% of the sand is covered with dune grass.
75% is for wetland replication. I don't know, for dune grass, it's whatever you establish it, whatever you require under
Yeah, I
your
think-
decision.
There's some threshold, I don't know what the threshold
I
is
think-
for
I think-
success, but,
Yeah,
it
that
sounds
has
like
to-
it's good
It is
from what you've
successful.
seen, so that's confirmation for me.
Can we approve it and, sign it if we have a copy of it here, subject to somebody putting eyeballs on it, that,
Is there a copy of it in the file?
No, we've just got blank signature pages.
So, I don't have, if Cara said it looks good and Brian says it looks good, I'm okay with this.
Like, you got a motion?
I would move to issue the certificate of compliance.
Second.
Alright,
You can't vote because it's old.
No, for a COC you can vote.
I'm gonna stick with the original interpretation that if it was, because that's
If
on
it
a
was-
project
if it
that was.
was
Sure, have at it.
Submitted
well, in that case,
before
I don't think
you
I
did
was here then.
Yeah, no, I don't know how many COCs I voted on that think well the COCs
That's
where
a
it's
good
like,
point.
think well the COCs where they're like, yeah, that file died in a fire that was lit by a
You
leprechaun.
don't have to do that.
Oh, no, that's a good point, that's a good point.
Yeah, no, you don't have to, you can vote on it if you want, but
Yeah.
recuse yourself
Alright.
if you want.
I should recuse myself.
Okay.
You wanna vote on something? It's been a while.
So
Alright,
vote to approve.
so yeah, we got a first, we got a second, who's in favor, and hands in the air.
4-0.
And if we're wrong.
No, Rick got in on it.
Hey!
Why not?
Your first vote, oh, wow.
5-0-1 abstain.
I know it's not on the agenda here, Brian, but I think
Um,
We're getting a new add-on.
on minutes, like, we haven't approved minutes since I've been on.
yeah,
So
And
we
is
need
there a
we need to
minute
start
taker?
approving some minutes regularly.
we need an administrative assistant who prepares the minutes and provides them for us to approve.
Yeah.
Here, look in the Dropbox, do we have a pile of minutes in there
I mean,
that were drafted, that just
Kathy-
never got put on?
Tried to write some up, but
She hated it, it was
they
Yeah.
were so
weird.
goofed up
Yeah.
that
All we need is to keep track of the motions. You know, the details of the discussion, you don't, you can summarize, but we really just need to keep track of.
I see minutes here running
what
through
we
5/11.
vote on.
So we
So
have
we've got drafted minutes through 5/11.
2/16 through 5/11. Here.
So we should start going through those and putting a batch of them on each agenda so we can catch up.
Okay, there's 6 here. So
Do you wanna add those on, or is that something we can do on the fly?
Well, we
let's,
also have to
let's
look
put
at
those on the
them.
next meeting.
Yeah,
Well, they're in the Dropbox, so we can look.
Yeah, so let's do that for the next meeting.
Alright,
Thank you very much.
all of them are just,
Oh, and that
many as we
becomes
get
part of
through.
that.
So just another administrative kind of thing is I think first we should have enforcement orders in this thing at the bottom here. Because we've got a
The
couple of
agenda.
them out and if you don't keep track of them,
Yeah.
they just go
Disappear.
vaporize.
It's-
Especially
And I really think for whomever, you know, for the next agent or the next staff person or something, there's gotta be some way to kind of, keep track stuff, including after, you know, an order is issued. You know, I don't think that's been going on,
Mhm.
and I think it's pretty, you know, I've felt that way for a long time, that there should be some, we should know when an order is about to expire, you know, if that becomes important to somebody. I don't know how other commissions do it, I just think it
Yeah,
can be.
usually just a spreadsheet with each permit
Okay.
listed and the dates, the relevant dates.
But
Somebody would have to
kind
know
of,
that.
more, I think the way Doug did it with the agenda was, nothing was ever left off the agenda. You know, whatever, this is basically the list of stuff that we've got currently. And, if we start leaving stuff off of it, it just gets, you know, gets forgotten. So I think everything that's on here should stay here. And, you know, if somebody's skipping a meeting, I mean, it's just noted as, you know, applicant requested continuance to such and such a date, but it doesn't come off the,
You mean even after we issue orders until it's?
no,
compliance?
after it's, you know,
Okay,
after you close the hearing and
Yep.
issued whatever you're gonna issue, it's gone, but, you know, like this Nathan Gray, it just sort of
just did
got
down.
dropped and,
Right.
you know, other things got dropped for the last meeting.
Right.
Well, I would hope that the new agent is really our gatekeeper on all this stuff, right?
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
I mean, you've got professionals, you've got staff.
Right.
You've got-
Hey,
Do we have any updates on them?
I'm gonna move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Can we
I-
go into
I
executive
second- I
session?
second that.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on, what was the question?
Do we need to go into an executive session or something to discuss any staff or anything like that?
If you feel like we need to, if we wanna discuss that, we can.
Well, we don't have staff to discuss. as
Okay,
far as I
so
know.
that's perfect. Okay, so I'm moving to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Alright,
we gotta go, oh, okay,
I'm gonna go shut off the camera.
okay, got it.